Chapter 1. The countdown to the apocalypse begins after enduring 20 years of struggle during the cataclysm. Lin Qifeng finds himself transported back to 10 days prior to the impending apocalypse. Accompanying his return is the acquisition of a divine storage space. In these fleeting 10 days, he enters a frenzied mode of stockpiling. A pair of delicate hands gently kneads Lin Qifeng's shoulders. "Darling, how does this feel? Would you like me to go lower to make you even more comfortable?" The soft, sweet voice wafts through the air, accompanied by a faint scent of perfume that fills Lin Qifeng's nostrils. Abruptly, he opens his eyes, only to discover that he is no longer battling the infernal beast. Instead, he finds himself back in his office, seated behind an opulent mahogany desk, with the same gentle hands attending to him. Glancing at the calendar on the desk, he notes that today is September 13th, 2056. The time reads precisely 10 o'clock in the morning. This means he has a full 10 days remaining until the catastrophe strikes. He has actually traveled back in time. However, he is acutely aware that his time is limited. Merely 10 days lie ahead. "Qifeng, what's wrong? You seem distracted today." The youthful woman attending to him is none other than his secretary, Xiao Kuer, who is also his current girlfriend. Yet, after the apocalypse descends, she vehemently opposed his decision to bring along his younger sister, Littled, leading to their separation as she aligned herself with another faction. Upon encountering him again, she even resorted to violence in an attempt to seize his supplies, only to be met with his fierce retaliation. Recalling these memories stirs a deep sense of loathing within Lin Qifeng. He rises abruptly and delivers a sharp slap across Xiao Kuer's cheek, his voice laced with contempt. "Get out. Disappear from my sight this instant." Xiao Kuer, initially bewildered, soon wells up with tears, her expression one of profound injustice. "Qifeng, what have I done wrong to deserve this treatment?" Lin Qifeng, cold and unyielding, commands, "Leave my presence at once. Now." Immediately, wiping her tears away, Xiao Kuer grits her teeth and retorts, "What madness has taken hold of you? It may be easy for you to dismiss me, but do not forget that I am the one spearheading the acquisition of the Yangyang Group. If you cast me aside now, prepare for the merger to falter. You will regret this when you come seeking my help." With that, she turns on her heel and slams the door behind her, the sound echoing like thunder. Merging with another company? What folly! With only 10 days remaining before the apocalypse, the sole priority is to stockpile supplies. The more, the better. Everything else pales in comparison. Without delay, Lin Qifeng sends a notification to all executives in the group's chat. All senior executives are to convene in the main conference room immediately for a crucial announcement. After dispatching the message, he strides towards the conference room. Moments later, all 26 top executives gather, ready for the meeting. Lin Qifeng turned to the chief financial officer, Yu Man, and inquired about the current cash balance of the company. Yu Man responded, 3,640,000,000. Lin Qifeng nodded and ordered, "Immediately cease all external payments and focus entirely on recovering funds. Do not question my decision. I have pressing matters to attend to." Yu Man was taken aback. Such a decision seemed tantamount to corporate suicide for the Lin Group. Surely the president could not have lost his sanity. Had the former president and his wife not met with an untimely demise 4 years ago, they would never have allowed such reckless behavior that jeopardized the future of the group. Lin Qifeng then turned to the director of the investment department, Lu Shilong, and asked, "How many business sectors does our group currently encompass?" Lu Shilong replied, "Presently, the Lin Group operates in 6 major fields: logistics, real estate, property management, entertainment, online media, and pharmaceuticals, subdivided into 36 industries." Lin Qifeng bluntly stated, "Sell off everything except for logistics at a discount. Remember, the only acceptable form of payment is through essential goods such as grains and meats." At this moment, all the executives were left in utter disbelief. Lin Qifeng had truly lost his mind. Lu Shilong, regaining his composure, questioned, "But, President Lin, we have no warehouses to store these goods." Lin Qifeng nonchalantly replied, "That is not your concern. Simply ensure they deliver the items to my designated location." In his mind, Lin Qifeng possessed a miraculous storage space capable of preserving any food item in its original state, regardless of the duration of storage. This extraordinary ability had awakened within him after he consumed a mystical crystal during the apocalypse and had returned with him upon his reincarnation. Lu Shilong sought further clarification. "President Lin, are you serious? What discount are we talking about for the assets we are selling?" Lin Qifeng pondered for a moment before responding. "My baseline is 70% off. However, if you can manage to sell for a higher price, the surplus will belong entirely to you, but you may only take cash, not goods." Almost all the executives gleamed with excitement. They had never anticipated such a lucrative opportunity. The Lin Group was valued at 300 billion, and selling at a 70% discount could potentially make each of them a billionaire. Naturally, they preferred cash. it would be foolish to seek out meat and grains. At first glance, it appeared as though Lin Qifeng was at a disadvantage, but in reality, he stood to gain immensely. Only through such substantial concessions could he motivate his executives to exhaust all efforts within a mere 10 days to convert all assets into essential supplies. Based on Lin Qifeng's understanding of these executives, they would undoubtedly strive to exchange goods at 90% or even at full price. Thus, the food Lin Qifeng acquired would not be of lesser value than his assets, while the executives would soon realize that cash alone would be of little use. Once Lin Qifeng finished outlining his plan, nearly all the executives hurriedly departed to engage in the exchange of assets for essential supplies. Only one person remained unmoved. Seated in her original position, her eyes fixed intently on Lin Qifeng. It was none other than the financial director. Man Lin Qifeng rose and inquired, "Why do you not seize this opportunity for substantial profit? In a heartbeat, you could become a billionaire." Man, somewhat incensed, retorted, "Mr. Lin, why are you doing this? You are destroying the fruits of your parents' lifelong labor. If they were aware of your actions, they would not find peace in the afterlife." Lin Qifeng was taken aback. He had not anticipated such loyalty from Man towards the Lin Group. He responded earnestly, "I cannot divulge the true reason at this moment. Nor do I have the time to explain, as I must urgently go to my sister's school to bring her home." Man also stood, stating, "Perhaps your time is indeed precious, Mr. Lin, but I can accompany you to fetch your sister, and we can discuss everything in detail along the way. I hope you don't mind." Chapter 2. Fetching my sister. Lin Qifeng nodded. Man was a strikingly beautiful and accomplished professional, and at just 28, she appeared to be a potential ally in the face of impending calamity. After all, in a world beset by chaos, the most invaluable asset is the trust of others. Lin Qifeng did not refuse Man's offer, allowing her to accompany him as he went to collect his younger sister, whom he affectionately called Little Dot. Little Dot was quite dependent on her brother, yet he had not been the most attentive guardian. Although he had provided her with a life of material comfort, he had failed to offer her emotional support and companionship, sending her off to an elite boarding school at a young age. Even after the onset of the apocalypse, Lin Qifeng had not fully committed himself to caring for her, resulting in Little Dot's tragic demise in his arms a year later. He could never forget the haunting scene of her final moments, as she summoned her last bit of strength to offer him her last piece of cookie, saying, "Brother, eat. I cannot stay with you. Farewell." Each time he recalled that moment, he felt an overwhelming urge to pound his head against the wall. It was then that he truly realized that the only person who had ever treated him sincerely was his sister. Thus, with the chance to start anew, Lin Qifeng vowed to protect his sister with every ounce of his being. Seated in the passenger seat, Man observed the subtle shifts in Lin Qifeng's expression. While she could not fathom the depths of his thoughts, she recognized the tumult of emotions roiling within him and wisely refrained from interrupting. It was only when his demeanor settled into calmness that she spoke again. "Mr. Lin, why are you choosing this path? Do you understand that your actions could obliterate your parents' legacy? I cannot stand idly by while you ruin the Lin Group." Lin Qifeng curiously inquired why his decisions had transformed into a celebration for other executives, while she appeared to be consumed by worry. Man earnestly replied, "Because I am not like them." Lin Qifeng pressed for clarification, asking how she was different. Man explained, "Since my middle school years, I have received your father's support, continuing until I graduated from university and joined the Lin Group. Although I am merely 28 years old, I have already dedicated 7 years to the Lin Group. It has become my home, the embodiment of all the hard work and kindness bestowed upon me by your family. Therefore, I cannot bear to witness its destruction." At that moment, Lin Qifeng realized the profound connections Man had with his family. However, he still could not divulge the true reasons behind his actions. He could only say, "Give me 10 days, and you will understand why I am doing this." Man, filled with agitation, responded, "In 10 days, the Lin Group will indeed be devastated. All of its enterprises are of exceptional quality, and tomorrow your decision will create a tremendous stir in the market. People will rush to provide you with whatever you desire. But why do you need so much? We lack the capacity to store it. Perishable items like meat will spoil within 3 days. Have you considered the terrifying consequences? I can guarantee that in 5 days, the Lin Group will be ruined. Lin Zong, I implore you, please reconsider your decision." Lin Qifeng secretly chuckled, astonished by his fortune upon returning to this world, realizing that Man was such a remarkable woman. He smiled and said, "How about this? You stay by my side and assist me for a while longer, and I will reconsider my decision. However, you must give me some time to reach a new conclusion. Before I do, you must wholeheartedly help me manage the current situation." After a moment of contemplation, Man agreed, "I will comply, but you must make your decision swiftly." Lin Qifeng nodded with a smile. At the prestigious Fenghua Private Academy, in a first-grade girls' dormitory, a porcelain doll-like girl was embroiled in a scuffle with 2 others, clearly at a disadvantage despite her valiant efforts. Her long hair was in disarray from being tugged. One of the girls shouted, "Stop fighting. The teacher is coming." At her cry, a middle-aged woman entered the dormitory and forcefully separated the porcelain-like girl. With evident displeasure, she scolded, "Lin Qifeng, why is it always you who gets into fights?" Lin Qifeng stubbornly retorted, "Why do they say I'm an orphan? I told them I have a brother who loves me dearly. Yet they mock me, claiming he does not care for me." A plump girl, hands on her hips, exclaimed, "Are we wrong? Your brother never comes to see you. You are an orphan, a child with no one to love you." Furious, Lin Qifeng was ready to charge at her, shouting, "You speak nonsense. My brother loves me very, very much." A middle-aged woman forcefully grasped Lin Qifeng's collar and said, "Lin Qifeng, cease your unreasonable commotion. What your classmates say is entirely accurate. Your brother has never acknowledged your existence. You have been abandoned. You are but an orphan, and you must not engage in further altercations with your classmates over such matters. Otherwise, I shall impose severe punishment upon you." Overwhelmed with grievance, Lin Qifeng burst into tears. At that moment, two figures entered from outside the dormitory, one male and one female, who were none other than Lin Qifeng and Yu Man, who had just arrived. Lin Qifeng swiftly embraced the sobbing Lin Qifeng, offering her comfort. "Little one, do not cry. Your brother has come to see you." Upon seeing Lin Qifeng, Lin Qifeng's tears transformed into laughter as she tightly clung to his neck, exclaiming, "Brother, is it truly you? I knew you loved me immensely." Lin Qifeng tenderly wiped away her tears, smiling as he said, "You are everything to your brother, little one. You are more precious than my own life. Of course, my greatest love is for you." In a moment of joy, Lin Qifeng planted a fervent kiss on Lin Qifeng's cheek, her cherubic face radiant like a rainbow after the rain. Lin Qifeng then turned to the middle-aged woman, his tone icy. "I grant you an opportunity. Apologize to my sister immediately." The woman, indignant, retorted, "Why should I apologize to her? I have not spoken incorrectly, and your sister is always fighting with her classmates." Lin Qifeng raised his right hand, and with a swift motion, delivered a resounding slap. The woman spun around 3 times before collapsing to the ground, her plump cheeks swelling with 5 distinct fingerprints. Lin Qifeng then cast a disdainful glance at the 2 young girls who had bullied his sister. Despite his rising disgust, he restrained himself from striking them, as their youth spared them from his wrath. Yet, his fierce gaze alone sent shivers down their spines. Chapter 3. Exchanging celebrities for power generation equipment seems reasonable, right? Lin Qifeng directly carried the little one away from the school. Once outside, Yu Man could no longer contain her curiosity. "You actually struck a teacher. How will Dian face her upon returning to school?" Lin Qifeng chuckled and replied, "She will never have to return to school again." Yu Man was taken aback, perplexed by Lin Qifeng's increasingly bizarre behavior. Could it be that he was losing his grip on reality? Yet, witnessing his profound affection for his sister suggested otherwise. Just as Yu Man was lost in thought, Lin Qifeng's phone rang. "Hello, President Lin. I just received news that requires your confirmation. Are you indeed selling all your holdings to exchange for food, meat, eggs, and various living necessities?" "Mr. Zhang, you have received accurate information. That is indeed the case." "What a coincidence. I have a friend who is a large-scale rancher, managing over 100,000 cattle, valued at 30 billion. How about we trade for the Mingguan Villa project under your real estate company?" "Mr. Zhang, your demands are quite audacious. The villa community you mentioned is a cornerstone of my real estate assets, valued at no less than 50 billion. President Lin, what do you think of this proposal? Valued at 5 billion, I can offer an additional 5 billion in sheep as collateral. How does that sound? I can accept this price. However, when can you deliver the cattle and sheep?" "Mr. Lin seems rather eager, so I shall be equally forthcoming. If we can finalize the contract today, delivery can commence tomorrow. Of course, this is contingent upon Mr. Lin securing the orders, should he require slaughtering and processing. An additional 3 days will be needed. The contract will be signed first thing tomorrow morning, but I will require 2 days to complete the slaughter of the cattle and sheep. I will find a way to manage transportation myself. There are absolutely no issues there. Do you require assistance with storage?" "No need for that. Thank you for your kind offer, Mr. Zhang. By the way, Mr. Lin, the intermediary for our transaction is Director Xiao Yin from the marketing department of the Lin Group. Rest assured, he will not miss his due share." With that, both parties concluded the call. On the other end, Mr. Zhang hung up the phone, muttering to himself, "What a fool, hoarding meat with his finest assets. Perhaps even his father's coffin will not suffice. The rich second generation is utterly unreliable, a prodigal wretch." Lin Qifeng was oblivious to Mr. Zhang's disparaging remarks and indeed was unconcerned, for in 10 days, the apocalypse would descend, and on that very day, Mr. Zhang would meet his demise. He would not waste a moment pondering the fate of a man destined to live only 10 more days. Yuman inquired, Mr. Lin, what are you truly contemplating? To suddenly acquire 5 billion worth of cattle and sheep. Without proper storage, they will spoil in just 3 days. Lin Qifeng, cradling the little one, approached Yuman and gently patted her shoulder, assuring her, do not worry. I have already devised a plan. Yuman furrowed her brow, pondering whether Lin Qifeng had been secretly orchestrating this all along. Suddenly, Lin Qifeng asked, by the way, do you have any family left? Yuman shook her head, responding, I grew up in the mountains. My parents perished in a mudslide when I was very young, and my grandmother raised me alone. She too passed away 3 years ago. After a moment's thought, Lin Qifeng suggested, why not move in with me tonight? Yuman was momentarily taken aback, and after a pause, she replied, what do you mean? Do you think I am like Xiaokur? Lin Qifeng chuckled, clarifying, you misunderstand my intentions. I harbor no such thoughts. What I mean to say is that time is truly of the essence, and we have so much to address that requires our close collaboration. Living together will enhance our efficiency. Of course, if you have a boyfriend and it is inconvenient, then we can disregard it. After a moment's consideration, Yuman replied, I do not have a boyfriend, and I can live with you, but I must sleep with Dandan. Additionally, you must agree to one condition. You must make your decision anew within 3 days. Lin Qifeng nodded, responding, very well, it is settled then. Come back with me tonight. I will comply with all the conditions you set forth. Yuman believed she might still salvage the Lin group, thus she agreed to Lin Qifeng's proposal. However, for Lin Qifeng, making a decision anew posed no challenge. It was not a matter of reversing his previous choice. The little one gazed at Yuman and sweetly remarked, Sister, you are truly beautiful. Why don't we become a family from now on? You could be my sister-in-law. How about that? Yuman's face instantly flushed crimson. Her gaze cast downwards, overwhelmed and unsure of how to respond to such a statement. At that moment, Lin Qifeng's phone rang, revealing a call from Fu Mingyuan, the director of the strategic planning department. Lin, I have a friend who manufactures renewable energy generation equipment. He possesses a substantial inventory of solar and wind power devices. I wonder if you might be interested? Upon hearing Fu Mingyuan's words, Lin Qifeng envisioned the cataclysmic scene of the apocalypse, with fire raining down, obliterating everything on the planet's surface. Although numerous survivors remained underground, they were shrouded in darkness due to the absence of electricity. If he could stockpile a significant quantity of power generation equipment, perhaps, once the flames subsided, he could restore the light of night. This prospect would render his existence far more intriguing, attracting more individuals to his side, and potentially facilitating the revival of civilization on this planet. Thus, Lin Qifeng responded, how many devices does your friend have? I shall procure them all. What assets does he seek in exchange? Fu Mingyuan excitedly replied, my friend has long desired a career shift. He wishes to exchange for our group's entertainment sector, demanding all artist contracts be transferred intact. That is entirely feasible. Please inform your friend that I require him to select a team of elite technicians to maintain these power generation devices, with the highest salary and benefits. Beside him, Yuman listened with increasing bewilderment. Why was Lin Qifeng even stockpiling power generation equipment? What exactly was he planning? Suddenly, a rather absurd thought flashed through her mind, but she swiftly suppressed it, deeming it too far-fetched. Nevertheless, she could accept the notion of acquiring power generation equipment, as it was advantageous for preserving value. At least it wouldn't decay, would it? Moreover, the most valuable assets of an entertainment company were the contracts of prominent stars. In Yuman's perspective, trading such contracts for power generation devices seemed like a profitable venture. Lin Qifeng turned to Yuman and said, prepare the cash. I recall my father had a collection of numerous artifacts. Once the transaction is finalized, I shall immediately disburse the commissions owed to the executives. Chapter 4. Not only stockpiling hot dishes, but also chefs Lin Qifeng drove home with the little one and Yuman. As he observed the bustling restaurants lining the roadside, a sudden change of heart overcame him. He had endured 2 decades in the apocalypse, a span during which he had scarcely indulged in any culinary delights, at best. He had merely satiated his hunger. Hence, he steered his vehicle to a halt in front of a restaurant, declaring, today, we shall feast here. With that, he exited the car, followed closely by Yuman, who held the little one's hand. It is now late afternoon, approaching the end of the workday. Yet the dining hall and all private rooms of the restaurant remain unoccupied, as the mealtime has not yet arrived. The courteous waiter welcomed Lin Qifeng with a polite greeting. Sir, madam, welcome. Today marks the 8th anniversary of our establishment, and all purchases are at a 20% discount. Lin Qifeng paused and replied, I do not require your discounts. I will be contracting all the dishes and staple foods from your restaurant. I desire as much as you can prepare, at full price. However, once prepared, please package it for delivery to my home early tomorrow morning. The waitstaff were momentarily taken aback, uncertain if they had misheard or if this individual was jesting. Lin Qifeng smiled reassuringly. You need not worry. I will settle the bill in advance. The waiter, stammering, sought clarification. Excuse me, sir, our restaurant is quite large. Our nightly revenue reaches 600,000. Lin Qifeng nodded. That is still insufficient. As he spoke, he retrieved a stack of 100 yuan bills and presented it to the waiter, saying, This is your tip. Please invite your manager over. I wish to discuss a significant business proposition. The waiter trembled slightly as she accepted the stack of bills, scarcely believing her eyes and ears. This was the largest tip she had ever received in her life. After a moment of excitement, she finally managed to respond, I don't know how to express my gratitude, sir. Please wait a moment. I will go fetch our manager immediately. Yuman glanced at Lin Qifeng and remarked, This seems rather extravagant. These prepared dishes could spoil by tomorrow. Lin Qifeng chuckled. Rest assured, I have already arranged for their preservation. Before long, a graceful middle-aged woman approached Lin Qifeng with a warm smile, inquiring, Good sir, I am the owner of this restaurant. How may I assist you? Lin Qifeng nodded and said, Hello, madam. I would like to contract all of your restaurant's meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, every day. You shall prepare as much as you can. And I expect utmost care and quality in your cooking. Are you willing to engage in this transaction with me? The middle-aged woman gazed at Lin Qifeng incredulously, taking a moment before responding with a smile. Sir, you seem to be quite sober. Lin Qifeng replied, You need not harbor any concerns. My faculties are entirely intact, and I am fully aware of my intentions. To assure you, I can settle the payment now. The woman scrutinized Lin Qifeng, remaining silent for a while before stating, Sir, I do not doubt your financial capability. However, I must caution you that without a sufficient number of patrons, even with ample resources, such expenditure could be deemed wasteful. Lin Qifeng took a closer look at the restaurant owner. Not only was she striking in appearance, but her character seemed equally admirable. In the event of an impending crisis, she could potentially become a valuable asset in managing logistics for his endeavors. Lin Qifeng smiled and assured her, You need not worry, there will be no waste. I am fully aware of my actions, but you must guarantee the quality of the meals. The female proprietor nodded and assured, As long as there's no waste. Please rest assured that the quality of the meals here is absolutely impeccable. Lin Qifeng, satisfied, inquired, May I ask how to address you, my dear sister? The owner smiled and replied, You may call me Sister Yu. Lin Qifeng chuckled, Sister Yu, my name is Lin Qifeng. Would you be interested in earning more money? Sister Yu paused, perplexed by Lin Qifeng's statement. He earnestly elucidated, What I mean is, you could act as an intermediary, contracting the surrounding 2 large restaurants for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and deliver them to me daily. You could extract a certain margin as your reward, but you must ensure the quality of their meals is absolutely reliable. Sister Yu was momentarily taken aback, bewildered by the intentions of this young man. Lin Qifeng reassured her, You need not worry, Sister Yu. I can settle the payment in advance, and certainly, there will be no waste. After a prolonged moment, Sister Yu nodded, albeit still curious, asking, Mr. Lin, I am genuinely intrigued. Could you satisfy my curiosity? What on earth do you need so much food for? Lin Qifeng smiled and replied, For the next 8 days. You need not personally deliver the meals to my home. However, on the 9th day, bring your chef and wait staff, and I shall unveil the mystery. How does that sound? At this, Sister Yu's curiosity was thoroughly piqued, and she nodded in agreement. Lin Qifeng had amassed a team of chefs and wait staff, with Sister Yu as the logistical manager. Having prepaid a deposit of 5 million, Sister Yu arranged a sumptuous dinner for Lin Qifeng. He and the little one began to feast heartily, while Yuman observed with a furrowed brow, questioning the unfolding situation. Nevertheless, she secretly resolved to keep a close watch the following day to discern how Lin Qifeng was storing the prepared food. The little one exhibited an unusually hearty appetite that evening, not only stuffing her own cheeks, but also eagerly feeding Lin Qifeng. He welcomed the offerings from his sister with open arms, and soon both siblings were covered in grease from their indulgence. Yuman couldn't help but reflect that, in terms of carefree spirits, they truly made a perfect pair as siblings. After their meal, Lin Qifeng provided Sister Yu with his address and drove home with the little one and Yuman. In the car, the little one excitedly asked, Brother, will I no longer have to attend school? Will I be with you every day? Lin Qifeng laughed. Why do you seem so thrilled? I hope you won't miss school. The little one retorted, As long as I can be with you every day, I won't miss school at all. I dislike that place, along with its teachers and classmates. Suddenly, Lin Qifeng slammed the brakes, and fortunately, both Yuman and the little one remembered to wear their seatbelts. Otherwise, they might have flown forward. Yuman glanced ahead and realized they had arrived at Lin Qifeng's villa, but outside the gates, a throng of reporters had gathered, armed with various cameras, all aimed at Lin Qifeng's residence. Chapter 5. A few female journalists aren't bad. Lin Qifeng was acutely aware that this matter would create a sensational stir. However, He had not anticipated the swift and profound chain reaction it would ignite. Now, he pondered whether to return home, fully aware that the journalists would prove to be quite relentless. After a moment's reflection, Lin Qifeng resolved to confront the situation head-on. Once more, he ignited the engine of his vehicle. As he reached the entrance of the villa, he was immediately surrounded by a throng of reporters, their cameras poised like weapons. One female journalist began banging on the window of his driver's seat, fervently exclaiming, "Mr. Lin, I have just received breaking news that you intend to sell off all of your entertainment ventures. May I confirm whether this includes the contracts of the 4 little flower darlings?" Another male journalist, unwilling to be overshadowed, shouted, "Mr. Lin, your recent moves have left us utterly dazzled. Are you considering a shift in the core operations of your business? Could you enlighten us on the rationale behind this decision? Are you losing confidence in the current enterprises of the Lin Group?" A third, bespectacled journalist, her voice strained, inquired, "Mr. Lin, sources in the market have suggested that your actions could result in a direct economic loss of at least 30 billion for the Lin Group. How do you respond to this assessment?" Lin Qifeng parked his car and lowered the window, calmly addressing the assembled journalists. "Greetings, esteemed reporters. The Lin Group's transition is still in its preliminary operational phase, and I shall refrain from making any statements at this time. If you remain interested in this matter, a formal press conference will be held in 10 days, and I warmly welcome all of you to attend." The bespectacled journalist pressed further, "Mr. Lin, is this true? Will there indeed be a formal press conference in 10 days? Could you share the specific time and location?" As Lin Qifeng regarded the attractive journalist, he mused that perhaps she too could be of use. After all, building his own faction in this tumultuous world would require a spokesperson. He replied, "On the morning of the 10th day, at 9 o'clock, right here, I will personally preside over the Lin Group's press conference. Should you arrive on time, do remember not to be late." The journalist continued, "Thank you for addressing my inquiries, Mr. Lin. I will certainly be punctual for the press conference. However, could you possibly divulge what considerations have prompted such significant actions from the Lin Group? Many market analysts are at a loss regarding your strategic positioning." Lin Qifeng chuckled. "Why are you so eager? If you truly wish to know, attend the press conference in 10 days. I shall not utter a single word further. Goodbye." As he began to raise his window, another beautiful female journalist pressed her hand against the glass, asking, "Mr. Lin, may I inquire about a personal matter?" Lin Qifeng paused, taken aback by the prospect of a question concerning his private life. At this juncture, who would still be concerned about personal matters? What sort of personal issues could possibly pique the interest of journalists at such a time? Lin Qifeng inquired curiously, "What personal matters are you referring to?" The attractive female reporter responded, "Your girlfriend, Xiao Kuer, has just made a statement on social media regarding your relationship, claiming that you abruptly ended things with her and even expelled her from your life. Following that, there have been some bewildering and chaotic developments, leading her to assert that there is a sudden issue with your mental state. Mr. Lin, how do you respond to this?" Lin Qifeng chuckled and said, "Allow me to use your platform to clarify. My decision to part ways with Xiao Kuer stems from my realization of her questionable character. Furthermore, my separation from her bears no relation to the business transitions within the Lin Group." He then cast a sweeping glance at all the journalists present and expressed his gratitude. "I appreciate everyone's keen interest in the Lin Group and in myself. If you are genuinely intrigued by the recent developments at the Lin Group, I cordially invite you to our press conference in 10 days. Farewell." Lin Qifeng resumed his drive, this time unimpeded. After all, the Lin Group's formal press conference was merely 10 days away, a short enough span for journalists to bide their time. Moreover, persisting in questioning Lin Qifeng at this moment could provoke him, potentially leading to the loss of their opportunity to attend the press conference, which would be a significant setback indeed. With dual automatic recognition of his vehicle's license plate, the villa's gate opened, allowing Lin Qifeng to enter. The gate then closed behind him. The little one, appearing quite excited, exclaimed, "Brother, why is today so lively? Is it because you bought so many groceries?" Yuman teased. "It's also because you bought a lot of meat." The little one earnestly asked, "Brother, what if we can't finish all this?" Just as Lin Qifeng was about to respond, Yuman's phone rang. Upon glancing at her phone, Yuman remarked, "It's a call from one of my sponsored students." She answered the call. "Hello, E. I have some wonderful news to share. I successfully passed my thesis defense and can graduate." "Congratulations, E. I am so proud of you." Yuman beamed. "However, sister, there is something that might disappoint you. I'm having a tough time finding a job. We are about to graduate, and none of the 4 of us in the dormitory have secured employment yet. Our urban planning management major makes job hunting exceedingly difficult." Upon hearing this, Lin Qifeng's eyes brightened. After the apocalypse, a world in need of reconstruction would require a plethora of talents in urban planning management. Thus, he turned to Yuman and proposed, "Invite her and her classmates to join us at the Lin Group immediately." Yuman nodded joyfully and spoke to her phone. Ing, do not worry. Your sister will get you steak. Come to Lin's group to work tomorrow, the very company where I am currently employed. Sister, is that really true? I am absolutely thrilled. I can't believe I will be able to work alongside you. Just thinking about it fills me with excitement. Thank you. My dear sister, do not thank only me. We must also express gratitude to Mr. Lin. If it weren't for his approval, I would not have been able to arrange this. Chapter 6. Is it excessive to gather a private armed force? Lin Qifeng's phone continued to ring nonstop until 1 in the morning, and he welcomed every call with open arms. As the calls increased, his inventory list expanded to include a plethora of supplies: rice, flour, oil, clothing, shoes, and socks, among other items. In another room, Yuman lay in bed, cradling the little one as she asked, Dian, do you think your brother is still normal? The little one nodded seriously and replied, Sister, you can rest assured and become my sister-in-law. I can guarantee that my brother is absolutely normal. There are no issues with his mental state. Women's intuition is always remarkably accurate. Yuman shook her head at the little one, silently lamenting, But dear, I do not perceive you as a woman just yet. Early the next morning, Yuman awoke. After freshening up, she sought out Lin Qifeng, only to find him still lounging in bed, unwilling to rise. Yuman, unperturbed, settled beside him, determined to uncover where he intended to store all those dishes. At that moment, Lin Qifeng's phone rang once more, and he instinctively answered the call. Hello. Who is this? Mr. Lin, good morning. I am Su Chong, the director of the security department at the group. I apologize for disturbing you so early. I have a very important matter to report to you. Please, go ahead. It is as follows. Our group has suddenly procured a vast quantity of supplies. Should we not enhance our security measures? I have a friend who runs a security company and is willing to transfer it to our group in exchange for a 37% stake in the property management company. Upon hearing this news, Lin Qifeng instantly became alert. During the last apocalypse, he had struggled for years, and his forces had been quite limited. Although some individuals could awaken special abilities by consuming crystal cores, the majority could not. If he had maintained a stable security force from the outset, it would have undoubtedly marked a splendid beginning for the apocalypse. Thus, Lin Qifeng promptly replied, All right, that sounds good. After concluding the call, he turned and was startled to find Yuman sitting beside him. Why are you awake so early? He asked, a hint of irritation in his voice. You need not keep me company while I sleep. Blushing, Yuman responded, Who wants to keep you company while you sleep? I merely wish to see where you plan to put the breakfast that the hotel delivers. Lin Qifeng finally comprehended the intentions of this woman. He could only helplessly inquire whether all women's curiosity was as profound as hers. Yuman retorted, What does it matter to you? If women possess a heightened sense of curiosity, what of it? It was you who ignited my curiosity. Not only are you hoarding goods, but you are also hoarding people. I truly cannot fathom your intentions. Suddenly, Lin Qifeng remarked, It seems the security company does not possess any firearms. It is all cold weapons. Do you happen to know where we could procure a batch of firearms for the security personnel? Yuman exclaimed dramatically, No way. You are even stockpiling arms? Lin Qifeng replied earnestly, You heard my earlier phone call. With so much inventory, we certainly need someone to safeguard it, do we not? Surely. Possessing real weapons would enable us to better protect our resources. Yuman shot Lin Qifeng a glance and said, I am merely a woman who deals with numbers. How could I possibly know anything about arms? Lin Qifeng pondered aloud. Might the other executives in our company have such resources? Yuman shook her head, saying, I advise you to abandon that thought. Our company consists of respectable businessmen. How could they possibly have such resources? Lin Qifeng insisted, This issue must be resolved. Yuman, uninterested in the topic, was at a loss for words and opted to remain silent beside him. At that moment, a drowsy little one rubbed her eyes as she entered, sleepily stating, Sister-in-law, you're not keeping your word. You promised to sleep with me, but you snuck in to be with brother while I was asleep. Lin Qifeng burst into laughter, while Yuman's face flushed crimson with embarrassment. She hurriedly explained, Dian, don't speak nonsense. Your sister was indeed with you last night. I just got up and came here to your brother. Dian, unconvinced by Yuman's explanation, turned to Lin Qifeng and asked, Brother, tell me, did sister-in-law lie? Yuman, feeling cornered, sought refuge in a nearby gap. Realizing only then that Dian had been calling her sister-in-law, she pulled the little one close and said, Dian, don't call me that. Call me sister. I'm not yet your sister-in-law. But Dian nonchalantly replied, It's bound to happen sooner or later. Overwhelmed by embarrassment, Yuman could no longer bear it and fled outside. Dian climbed onto Lin Qifeng's bed, lying beside him and asking, Brother, why is sister so shy? Lin Qifeng, with a hint of annoyance, questioned, Dian, did you do that on purpose? When Yuman is near me, you call her sister-in-law, but when she is not, you switch to calling her sister. Dian giggled, Brother, don't you think it's amusing to see Sister Yuman shy like that? I've never seen anyone's face turn that red. Lin Qifeng shook his head helplessly, realizing this little one was quite the clever trickster. At that moment, he received a call from Sister Yu. Mr. Lin, breakfast will be delivered to you shortly, an entire cargo container full. I hope you're prepared to receive it. All right. Thank you, Sister Yu. After ending the call, Lin Qifeng turned to the little one and asked, Are you hungry? Our breakfast will arrive soon, and I assure you, there will be more than enough. The little one exclaimed dramatically, So much breakfast, I could never finish it in a lifetime. Brother, are you planning to make me burst from overeating? Lin Qifeng chuckled at the thought. Realizing the little one might genuinely believe that the abundance of breakfast was meant solely for her, him, and Yuman. At that moment, Yuman, who had not wandered far from the door, was eavesdropping intently, determined to uncover Lin Qifeng's secrets. However, perhaps due to her intense focus or Lin Qifeng's subtle movements, when he opened the door, Yuman stumbled into the room and fell into his arms. The little one observed this strange scene and muttered, Brother, sister-in-law, do all adults enjoy playing such surprise games? But I find it rather dull. Chapter 7. Preparing to stockpile arms, Yuman promptly pushed Lin Qifeng away. Wishing she could vanish into a crack in the floor, she had been caught eavesdropping, and the embarrassment was overwhelming. Hearing the little one's comment only deepened her humiliation. Fortunately, Lin Qifeng's phone rang again. It was Mr. Zhang calling to discuss contract matters. The lawyer had drafted the contract overnight, and all that remained was for Lin Qifeng to confirm its accuracy before signing. The contract could then be executed immediately. After concluding the call, Lin Qifeng turned to Yuman and said, Yuman, I entrust this matter to you. Today, you will represent me at the company to review and sign the contract. I will inform everyone that you have my special authorization. Still reeling from her earlier embarrassment, Yuman could barely process his words. Lin Qifeng continued, Do not delve too deeply into the contract terms. I need you to ensure it is signed today, regardless of the circumstances, and that the other party commences execution immediately. Do you understand? Yuman instinctively nodded. Lin Qifeng patted her shoulder and said, Then let us depart. Take my car. Yuman took the car keys and set off. Lin Qifeng found amusement in her current state, curious to see how she would react once her mind returned to normalcy. Shortly after Yuman left, the delivery truck sent by Sister Yu arrived. Lin Qifeng instructed the delivery person to bring the containers of food into the yard before they departed. With a mere thought, he stored the steaming dishes in his extraordinary storage space, ensuring they would retain their warmth no matter how long they remained inside. At this moment, the little one dashed into the courtyard, momentarily bewildered by the emptiness surrounding her. After a while, she inquired, Where's the food that my brother just brought? Lin Qifeng chuckled as he affectionately ruffled her hair, saying, Little one, how much breakfast can your tiny stomach hold? Isn't it enough that I filled you up? Despite witnessing an astonishing scene, the young girl, still quite naive, quickly shifted her focus to Lin Qifeng's words and ceased her inquiries. Meanwhile, Yuman, who was driving halfway, finally realized her oversight and began to regret her hasty agreement to Lin Qifeng's request to sign the contract on his behalf, without delving into any of its terms. Merely insisting on swift execution, how could she have so carelessly acquiesced to such demands? Furthermore, she had intended to observe how he stored the food, yet she had completely forgotten about that. Yuman lamented her own tendency to be overly bashful and resolved to cultivate a thicker skin in the future. After sharing breakfast with the little one, Lin Qifeng called Yuman to remind her not to skip her meal, emphasizing that he only had 9 days left, and his partner must not fall ill, for he would truly be overwhelmed otherwise. Just as Lin Qifeng finished his call with Yuman, he received a call from Xiao Kuo, a conversation he was reluctant to entertain. However, the woman persistently called 7 times in succession. Although he contemplated blocking her, she sent a message stating, Lin Qifeng, there is something of utmost importance that we must discuss over the phone. Ignoring my call will not benefit you. Her audacity to threaten him was infuriating, prompting Lin Qifeng to answer the call. Lin Qifeng, do you think you can just kick me aside and consider it over? I assure you, our matters cannot be dismissed so easily. Even if I wished it so, my uncle would never agree. This is not a threat. My uncle has the means and the men to back him. Suddenly, Lin Qifeng recalled the scene from the apocalypse when Xiao Kuo left him, following a certain faction led by a heavily tattooed bald man, clearly having a close relationship with him. Initially, he suspected an illicit connection between them, but it now seemed otherwise. He later learned that the bald man's name was Du Feng, who indeed possessed firearms of various kinds. Ultimately, Du Feng and Xiao Kuo attempted to seize Lin Qifeng's supplies, but were thwarted by Lin Qifeng after he awakened his powers. Contemplating this, Lin Qifeng queried, Is your uncle named Du Feng? Xiao Kuo appeared momentarily taken aback, eventually responding with astonishment, How do you know my uncle's name? A subtle smile curled at the corners of Lin Qifeng's lips. He had been pondering how to acquire weaponry to fortify his own faction. only to find that Xiao Kuo had unwittingly presented him with such a fortuitous opportunity. Thus, he replied, Xiao Kuo, I understand your reluctance to accept this situation. However, our paths can no longer intertwine, yet I am willing to offer you compensation. Xiao Kuo was momentarily taken aback, but soon inquired eagerly, how do you intend to compensate me? Lin Qifeng replied, I plan to make a deal with your uncle, and you can serve as the intermediary. Xiao Kuo huffed disdainfully. Is this truly compensation? You are merely exploiting me. Lin Qifeng calmly responded, after all this time spent together, do you possess no business acumen? I have hinted at this to such an extent. Must I explicitly inform you that you can earn a commission from it before you grasp how to generate profit? At this, Xiao Kuo joyfully asked, what sort of deal do you intend to make with my uncle? Lin Qifeng answered, I am aware that your uncle possesses various weaponry. Whatever he has is of necessity to me. You may negotiate the price with him, and once settled, inform me. How you choose to take your commission is entirely your affair and no longer concerns me. Consider this my compensation to you. After pondering for a moment, Xiao Kuo replied, this is what you said, so do not backtrack. Await my call. With that, their conversation concluded. A smirk of derision curled at the corners of Lin Qifeng's mouth, as he anticipated that soon Xiao Kuo and her uncle would be infuriated. They believed they had dealt a severe blow to Lin Qifeng, yet 9 days later, they would discover that no matter how much wealth they obtained, it would transform into worthless scraps of paper. The powerful force they could have established with weaponry was entirely exchanged by Lin Qifeng for meaningless refuse. They had once cunningly plotted against and robbed themselves. Now it was their turn to experience the taste of betrayal. Approximately 10 minutes later, Xiao Kuo called to inform Lin Qifeng that her uncle wished to meet him in person for further discussion. Lin Qifeng promptly acquiesced to Xiao Kuo's request. Chapter 8. A meeting with old adversaries. Lin Qifeng instructed the little one to stay home, as it was inconvenient to bring him along this time. He could not guarantee that Xiao Kuo and her uncle would not set a trap for him. Drawing from his 2 decades of experience battling fire spirits, he felt confident in his ability to protect himself should a confrontation arise. Yet, he remained deeply concerned about the possibility of inadvertently harming his sister. Thus, he resolved to leave the little one at home, ensuring he was entertained with cartoons and could reach out to Lin Qifeng at any moment. With that, Lin Qifeng set out. Following the agreed-upon meeting location with Xiao Kuo, he arrived at a horse ranch nestled at the foot of Shishan in a sleek sports car. Xiao Kuo was already waiting outside the ranch for him. After parking, he approached her, only to find her wearing a notably aggrieved expression, clearly struggling to accept Lin Qifeng's abrupt change in demeanor. As soon as she saw him, her first words were, I need you to provide me with a reasonable explanation. What exactly have I done wrong? Lin Qifeng coldly replied, what significance does discussing this have at this juncture? I shall provide the compensation you desire. Xiao Kuo shot a fierce glare at Lin Qifeng, choosing silence as she turned to stride into the horse ranch, with Lin Qifeng following closely behind. For Lin Qifeng, who had battled through the apocalypse for 2 decades, a mere horse ranch posed little challenge, and thus he refrained from asking any questions, quietly trailing Xiao Kuo. As they traversed the spacious courtyard of the ranch, they arrived before a row of single-story houses, where 4 young men loitered, either squatting or standing, their eyes fixated on Lin Qifeng with a hint of malice. Lin Qifeng remained unfazed. They were merely 4 lackeys. Xiao Kuo called out to her uncle from outside the house, announcing the arrival of someone. A heavily tattooed, bald middle-aged man emerged from one of the rooms. It was Du Feng. Lin Qifeng felt a surge of amusement upon seeing Du Feng, the very man who had once conspired with Xiao Kuo against him, seeking to seize his provisions. Lin Qifeng could never forget the smug expression on Du Feng's face as he held a gun to his head, boasting, Lin Qifeng, did you really think it was just me and Kuo waiting for you here? To die at our hands would be a stroke of luck for you. However, when Lin Qifeng unleashed his powers to subdue him, Du Feng had been reduced to a quivering wreck, begging for mercy. Lin Qifeng mused to himself that had he allowed Du Feng to continue, he would undoubtedly have claimed to be Xiao Kuo's uncle, pleading for his life based on their past ties. Du Feng, with a cold stare, inquired, Lin Qifeng, I am genuinely curious how you discovered my identity. Did you conduct a thorough investigation into Kuo's background before deciding to part ways with her? Lin Qifeng realized that Du Feng and Xiao Kuo had likely analyzed the reasons behind his departure from her, and he was taken aback by their conclusions. Yet, he felt little inclination to clarify matters, as he certainly could not divulge the truth of his time travel. Thus, he replied, Du Feng, what significance does our conversation hold now? It would be more prudent to discuss our transaction, as our time is precious, and we should not squander it. Du Feng retorted furiously, you think you can discuss a deal with me without providing my niece an explanation? You believe yourself worthy? No sooner had he finished speaking than the 4 young men converged on Lin Qifeng, preparing to strike. Lin Qifeng scoffed, Du Feng, Are you truly prepared to proceed in this manner? You will come to regret it. Du Feng replied menacingly. I have never regretted anything in my life. Upon hearing this, the four young men quickened their pace, encircling Lin Qifeng from various angles. Xiao Cougar stood silently by, observing without any reaction. In a sudden burst of movement, Lin Qifeng executed a high kick to the left, landing squarely on the face of the man on his side, sending him flying backward. Meanwhile, Lin Qifeng bent forward, causing the man who attempted to ambush him from behind to miss his punch, inadvertently landing a blow on the face of the man attacking Lin Qifeng from the front. Simultaneously, Lin Qifeng arched his back, propelling the assailant behind him into the air, and with a deft shake to the right, he flung him aside. Crash! The man who was thrown out collided perfectly with the one attacking Lin Qifeng on the right, and both fell to the ground, wailing incessantly. In less than a blink of an eye, Lin Qifeng had effortlessly dispatched all four adversaries to the ground. With a grin, Lin Qifeng addressed Du Feng. I am aware you possess a firearm. Why not draw it, and see if you have the opportunity to shoot me? Du Feng, exhibiting a fierce resolve, promptly produced a handgun. In a flash, Lin Qifeng was before Du Feng, seizing his gun hand with a firm grip. He then delivered a powerful kick to Du Feng's abdomen, causing him to collapse onto the ground, the gun snatched away by Lin Qifeng. Stunned, Xiao Cougar finally regained her composure and shouted, Lin Qifeng, do not harm my uncle. Lin Qifeng turned to her, coldly stating, I merely wish to conduct a quiet transaction with you all. Why can you not remain placid? I have already flung you aside. Yet I offer compensation. Is that not sufficient? Xiao Cougar, eyeing the weapon in Lin Qifeng's grasp, urged, please, lower the gun. We shall only discuss the transaction. I assure you, this time there will be no unforeseen accidents. Lin Qifeng glanced at Du Feng and asked, did you hear what your niece just said? Du Feng, still doubled over in pain from Lin Qifeng's earlier kick, could only nod feebly. Excellent, Lin Qifeng remarked. Had we conducted ourselves this way from the outset, such unpleasantness could have been avoided. At that moment, 6 individuals burst forth from the room, each wielding an assault rifle. These 6 had been engaged in conversation with Du Feng inside, and upon Lin Qifeng's arrival, Du Feng had exited without them immediately following, believing the others outside could handle Lin Qifeng. However, they were taken aback by the sudden turn of events, prompting them to rush out with their weapons drawn. Seeing the situation escalate, Du Feng regained his composure, suppressing his pain as he stood, declaring, Lin Qifeng, do you genuinely believe I am easily dealt with? This time, you are doomed. Chapter 9. Acquiring the first batch of arms at this juncture, Xiao Cougar added with a cold smirk, Lin Qifeng, I have long asserted that abandoning me was the gravest mistake of your life. I shall make you regret it. Do you feel remorse now? Lin Qifeng surveyed the 6 individuals before him. Had it not been for his desire to acquire more arms, he could have swiftly neutralized them all at once. His restraint was solely motivated by the prospect of obtaining greater firepower, not due to any genuine disadvantage. Lin Qifeng calmly inquired of Du Feng, have you truly abandoned our transaction entirely? Du Feng sneered in response. Do you truly believe there is any necessity to continue our dealings? Do you not realize how detrimental the terms you proposed are for me? After you provide me with the funds, I am still obligated to deliver the goods. Why not simply pay me without requiring delivery? Lin Qifeng, with a mocking tone, uttered the words so it turns out, and unexpectedly moved swiftly to stand before Du Feng, one arm tightly gripping his neck while the other aimed a gun at his temple. Du Feng was genuinely taken aback. He never anticipated that Lin Qifeng would dare to hold him hostage under the threat of 6 submachine guns, and yet he had succeeded. Based on his previous experiences, individuals who had been aimed at by so many weapons, regardless of their prior bravado, would immediately transform into meek lambs, terrified of making any sudden movements for fear of being shot to pieces. However, he could never fathom what kind of courage and capability a person who had fought for 20 years in a post-apocalyptic world possessed. Continuing from his previous statement, Lin Qifeng said, so you and Xiao Cougar had no intention of negotiating with me from the very beginning, but rather aimed to deceive me and extort me directly. Is that correct? Du Feng, nearly choking from the pressure, found himself unable to respond. A burly man wielding a submachine gun shouted, let go of Brother Feng, or you won't live to see another moment. Do you truly believe you can contend with us all alone? Lin Qifeng, uninterested in further conversation, suddenly fired a shot, hitting the man in the thigh. With a cry of agony, he collapsed to the ground, howling in pain. The others hesitated to fire, as Du Feng stood in front of Lin Qifeng, preventing them from taking action. Xiao Cougar cried out, Lin Qifeng, put down your weapon immediately. I swear there will be no more unexpected incidents. Lin Qifeng coldly retorted, now you understand why I chose to sever ties with you? Because your words are utterly unreliable, and your character is despicable. I shall never trust a single word you utter again. Xiao Cougar was so infuriated that she could not utter a single word in response. Lin Qifeng then turned his gaze to the 5 men before him, disregarding them entirely, and addressed Du Feng. If you wish to live, you will heed my instructions. I am granting you one final opportunity to continue our transaction. What say you? Du Feng, unable to articulate a response, could only nod fervently. Satisfied, Lin Qifeng commanded, have them lower their weapons. Du Feng desperately signaled his subordinates with his eyes to comply with Lin Qifeng's orders. His men, unwilling to defy Du Feng's command, followed suit and discarded their weapons. Lin Qifeng then directed Xiao Ke, you and your companions should all enter the house. Cease your wailing here. Faced with Lin Qifeng, who appeared as fearsome as a demon, Xiao Ke dared not resist and hastily moved toward the house, while the others assisted the injured man inside. As Lin Qifeng tightened his arm around Du Feng's neck, the latter's brain instantly suffered from oxygen deprivation, causing him to roll his eyes back and his consciousness to fade into a void. Seizing this moment, Lin Qifeng swiftly gathered all the weapons on the ground into his extraordinary storage space. Ensuring no one witnessed how he accomplished this feat subsequently, he relaxed his grip slightly, allowing Du Feng to return from the brink of death. With a smile, Lin Qifeng inquired, how do you feel? Did you not experience a brush with mortality? Was it not a fascinating sensation? By this point, Du Feng had already begun to perceive Lin Qifeng as a demonic figure. The anger that once consumed him had been largely supplanted by fear. Lin Qifeng loosened his grip further and asked, tell me, how much contraband do you possess? Du Feng replied, I do not have much. My funds are limited, and the total number of firearms in my possession is merely 20. Curious, Lin Qifeng questioned. Where did you acquire them? Du Feng responded that he was the largest arms dealer in the border region, a lawless area. Lin Qifeng declared, I am unconcerned with your dealings. What matters is this. I will grant you 5 days. Regardless of the type of weapon, I desire it, and the more ammunition, the better. You may set your price as you wish. This will allow you and Xiao Ke to profit handsomely. We will reconvene here in 5 days. Does that sound agreeable? Du Feng nodded vigorously. Lin Qifeng continued, however, your integrity is now entirely in question before me. To ensure our transaction proceeds smoothly, Xiao Ke must accompany me for the time being. Once our dealings are concluded in 5 days, she will be set free. Otherwise, I trust you can imagine the consequences. Du Feng hastily assured, I guarantee that the transaction will be completed successfully in 5 days. Lin Qifeng chuckled, you may attempt any tricks, I assure you. All your information is under my control. Neither you nor your family will escape. Beads of cold sweat formed on Du Feng's forehead. Due to a previous misjudgment with Xiao Ke, he believed Lin Qifeng had thoroughly investigated her background, leading him to trust Lin Qifeng's words as truth regarding his family's information. This was a grave misunderstanding, yet Lin Qifeng intended to use it as leverage against Du Feng. Lin Qifeng then commanded, have your subordinates bring forth all your weapons and ammunition and place them before me. At this moment, Du Feng dared not resist. His fear intensified, compelling him to obey Lin Qifeng's every instruction. He instructed his men to present the remaining 16 firearms and ammunition before Lin Qifeng. Once they returned to the room, Lin Qifeng momentarily disoriented Du Feng again and stored the weapons in his extraordinary storage space. Then Lin Qifeng called out, Xiao Ke, step forth. Chapter 10. Never hoard your secrets. Xiao Ke timidly stepped out, clearly gripped by fear. She felt utterly bewildered by Lin Qifeng, despite having been with him for quite some time. She could not fathom how he had suddenly become so formidable. Lin Qifeng, observing Xiao Ke's pitiful demeanor, commanded her to follow him. Releasing Du Feng, who nodded at Xiao Ke, Lin Qifeng seized her by the arm and strode out of the horse ranch. It was only then that Du Feng and his underlings, snapping out of their stupor, began to ponder a pressing question. Where had Lin Qifeng concealed their weapons? He had departed with only a single handgun, leaving the rest behind. Du Feng shouted, urging everyone not to dawdle and to search promptly. They turned the entire ranch upside down, yet not a single firearm was found. One of the underlings, unable to contain himself, exclaimed, Brother Feng, that Lin Qifeng is far too uncanny. He is not someone we can provoke. Du Feng nodded in agreement, pondering how it was even possible. It was truly unbelievable. The others echoed his sentiments. Another underling inquired, Brother Feng, what shall we do next? Du Feng, resigned, replied, we've suffered a tremendous loss this time. What else can we do? We must adhere to his instructions. Perhaps we can salvage our losses. Lin Qifeng brought Xiao Ke to his sports car, coldly instructing her to get in. Xiao Ke approached the passenger seat, only to be swiftly ordered. You do not deserve to sit there. Open the trunk and climb inside. Xiao Ke's beautiful eyes instantly welled with tears as she pleaded, how can you be so heartless? After all we've shared, how can you forget our past? Lin Qifeng, irked, slapped her and retorted, if you wish to live comfortably, you should obey my commands without bargaining. When you and your uncle conspired against me, Where was your sentimentality? Jioker, covering her stinging cheek in humiliation, reluctantly made her way to the trunk. Lin Qifeng opened it for her, and she climbed in as he shut the trunk and drove away. Upon returning home, Lin Qifeng opened the trunk to release Jioker, coolly stating, "If your uncle keeps his word, you will be free in 5 days. However, during this time, you will serve as a maid in my household, responsible for all cleaning duties. Do you understand? If you fail to meet my expectations, I will deal with you accordingly." With that, he strode into the villa, and Jioker followed him, feeling utterly dejected. Lin Qifeng turned and asked, "What makes you think you can follow me?" Jioker, perplexed, queried, "What should I do then?" He coldly instructed, "First, sweep this yard thoroughly, and once done, mop it properly. Do you comprehend?" Upon hearing this, Xiao Kuer could not help but feel a surge of anger, perceiving herself to be subjected to a profound humiliation. However, the moment she caught sight of Lin Qifeng's frigid gaze, she promptly lowered her head, silenced by the weight of his presence. Lin Qifeng then warned her that if she found such indignities unbearable, she was free to leave, but he cautioned her not to let him witness her departure. With that, he entered the room, discovering his little sister engrossed on the living room sofa, utterly captivated by an animated show. A thought struck Lin Qifeng. It was imperative to stockpile an ample supply of entertainment for his sister, ranging from cartoons, television series, movies, variety shows, to books. In the harsh reality of the apocalypse, little one would predominantly be in hiding, and without such diversions to pass the time, the days would be excruciatingly long. Unbeknownst to him, he had begun to genuinely consider his sister's feelings. Upon seeing her brother return, the little one leaped from the sofa and rushed into Lin Qifeng's embrace, exclaiming, "Brother, I missed you so much during this brief separation." At noon, Lin Qifeng took out steaming dishes of food to share a meal with his sister when Xiao Ke, who had been busy for a while, walked in, clearly wishing to join them. Lin Qifeng curtly reminded her, "Remember your position, you are my servant now. You may eat after we finish." Xiao Ke nodded, feeling quite aggrieved. Curiously, the little one turned to Xiao Ke and asked, "Brother, why did you choose such a beautiful sister to be our servant?" Previously, during the apocalypse, Xiao Ke had harbored a strong dislike for the little one, viewing her as a burden, which had led to a rift between her and Lin Qifeng. Yet this time marked their first encounter. Lin Qifeng pointed at Xiao Ke, declaring, "She is a wicked woman. Though she possesses beauty, her heart is unkind. Therefore, do not refer to her as sister." The little one, realizing the implication, responded, "Brother, I understand now. She must be a femme fatale." Lin Qifeng nodded, finding her observation quite pertinent. Just after they had finished their meal and tasked Xiao Ke with tidying up, Yu Man's phone call came in. Unprepared for what he was about to hear, Lin Qifeng was taken aback by the multitude of unforeseen developments. The first shocking revelation was that, throughout the morning, Yu Man had represented Lin Qifeng in signing 7 agreements. In addition to the one involving General Zhang's exchange of lamb and beef for a villa, there were several other significant agreements regarding renewable energy equipment, security companies, and daily necessities such as rice, flour, and oil. The second unexpected situation was that it seemed General Zhang and his associates had underestimated Lin Qifeng, viewing him as an easy target. Fearful that he might reconsider, they had crafted contract terms exceedingly favorable to him, designed to ease his concerns and encourage swift signatures to expedite the execution of the agreements. The third shocking circumstance was that Yu Man, recognizing the advantageous nature of these contract terms for Lin Qifeng, had cooperatively signed all of them without wasting any time. Lin Qifeng promptly instructed Yu Man to notify the logistics company under their command to work at full capacity and transport all goods to a construction site on the outskirts. Lin Qifeng found the situation quite amusing. These individuals were anxiously hoping that he would reconsider, eager to swiftly fulfill the contract. Yet they were utterly unaware that Lin Qifeng was even more impatient than they were. Consequently, Lin Qifeng resolved to select a group of dependable individuals to assist him. For even with Yu Man by his side, their numbers were still woefully insufficient. Thus, he decided to visit a security company in the afternoon to recruit a reliable team. This task posed no challenge for him. Having endured the tribulations of a post-apocalyptic world, Lin Qifeng possessed a deeper understanding of human nature than anyone else. Chapter 11. Selecting trustworthy individuals. Upon making his decision, Lin Qifeng acted promptly. He first aided Little Dot in grooming and dressing up, then called out to Xiao Ke, who was busy tidying up, to fetch a water bottle and fill it with hot water to carry for his sister. Xiao Ke was taken aback by his request. She hadn't even eaten yet. Although Lin Qifeng suggested she eat the leftovers, she stubbornly refused. Now, she felt quite hungry. However, upon seeing Lin Qifeng's unwavering gaze, she dared not protest and complied. This time, Lin Qifeng drove out an SUV from the garage, primarily for its spaciousness, ensuring Little Dot's comfort. Xiao Ke, carrying the water bottle, found herself at a loss as to where she should sit, whether to crawl into the trunk or sit inside the vehicle. To prevent Little Dot from harboring unpleasant memories, Lin Qifeng directed Xiao Ke to take a seat in the back, following the address provided by Yuman. They soon arrived at the security company. This establishment was quite large, boasting comprehensive training facilities. However, Lin Qifeng was not particularly interested in these amenities. What did it matter how impressive the facilities were when, in 9 days, everything would turn to ashes? Lin Qifeng contacted the head of the security company and introduced himself over the phone. The manager promptly came out to greet him, mistakenly believing that Lin Qifeng was there for an inspection and was eager to cooperate, fearful that he might change his mind. As per Lin Qifeng's request, all 567 security personnel assembled. He intended to select 20 individuals from this group. Before him stood a sea of uniformed security guards, half of whom were young, while the other half comprised mostly middle-aged individuals, with a small number of older adults. Holding Little Dot's hand, Lin Qifeng addressed them, stating, "From today onwards, I shall be your new employer. Each of your salaries will be doubled as a welcoming gift from me to all of you." His words immediately sparked a commotion among the guards, who had never anticipated such a generous offer. The new boss was exceedingly magnanimous. Of course, this was merely the carrot. A stick would follow. Lin Qifeng smiled and asked if everyone was satisfied with his generous gift. The security personnel shouted in unison, expressing their contentment. Lin Qifeng chuckled, remarking that they appeared exceedingly pleased with the salary increase. The security guards erupted into hearty laughter, responding to Lin Qifeng's inquiry with immense satisfaction. Lin Qifeng gestured for silence and then posed the question, "Would you like to double your salary?" The crowd shouted in unison, expressing their eagerness. With a smile, Lin Qifeng remarked that it was quite simple to earn a salary increase. They merely needed to compete with him in a test of strength. If they could win an arm wrestling match or land a blow that bested him, their salary would be doubled. Many among them felt a glimmer of excitement at Lin Qifeng's words, as the prospect of a salary increase seemed remarkably easy, given Lin Qifeng's seemingly frail appearance. They believed that even a fraction of their strength could overcome him. Some even dared to think of him as a weakling who could be easily bested with a single strike. One young man in the front row could no longer contain his enthusiasm. He boldly stepped forward and inquired, "Boss, if I challenge you to an arm wrestling match and win, will my salary be doubled? And if I then defeat you in a sparring match, can I expect another doubling?" Lin Qifeng had already mentally dismissed this individual, for he had clearly outlined the rules. Such a question revealed his insatiable greed, suggesting that he might betray his own for personal gain, regardless of his physical prowess. Lin Qifeng deemed him unnecessary. With a smile, Lin Qifeng replied, "Since you have posed this question, I shall indulge your request. Is there anyone else who shares your sentiment? Step forward." Those who did so would find themselves eliminated, destined to face their demise in 9 days. Upon hearing Lin Qifeng's words, nearly half of the crowd, around 300 individuals of varied ages, stepped forward. Lin Qifeng nodded, having decided to abandon these greedy souls. Recognizing that those who prioritized self-interest were often unreliable, he turned his gaze to the remaining individuals who stood still and pointed to a round-faced young man, asking, "Why do you not step forward?" The young man, appearing somewhat anxious, replied, "I worry that if too many people receive a substantial salary increase, the boss may not be able to bear such a financial burden, and the company could collapse. In that case, we would need to seek new employment, which would likely offer less favorable conditions than our current situation." Lin Qifeng found this individual to possess a degree of intelligence and a sense of moderation. While not particularly charming, his practicality made him a reliable candidate. Lin Qifeng then inquired, "How many of you support his opinion?" Nearly all remaining members expressed agreement, some having not considered this angle until prompted by the young man's reasoning. Lin Qifeng felt a sense of satisfaction with their responses. These individuals would be spared, ensuring their survival in the days to come. Lin Qifeng turned to the burly man who had boldly challenged him first and said, "I shall grant you an opportunity. Shall we commence with a test of strength or a contest of fists and feet?" The robust man pondered for a moment before responding, "Let us begin with strength. I fear that should I strike you down with a single blow, you would lack the vigor to engage in a battle of fists and feet thereafter." Lin Qifeng inwardly scoffed, perceiving him as a consummate egoist, whose every consideration revolved around maximizing his own advantage, much akin to Xiao Ke. Such a person was utterly undesirable. He commanded for a table and 2 chairs to be brought forth and initiated an arm wrestling match. The little one watched with eager anticipation from the sidelines, believing wholeheartedly that her brother was invincible and that victory would undoubtedly belong to him. Xiao Ke observed Lin Qifeng's actions with a contemplative gaze, as if she were beginning to grasp his intentions. To enliven the atmosphere, Lin Qifeng appointed the little one as the referee. Once their hands grasped each other, she exuberantly declared, Let the match begin. My brother shall surely triumph. Her bias as a little judge was palpable. The burly man wore a smirk of disdain, not immediately exerting his full strength. He intended to showcase his prowess, maintaining his stance while allowing Lin Qifeng to exert himself freely. When Lin Qifeng was thoroughly fatigued, he would unleash his strength and secure victory, believing this would afford him both the win and the opportunity to bask in glory. However, the moment Lin Qifeng exerted his force, the man realized he had gravely miscalculated. The hand gripping his was not delicate, but rather akin to a vice, and he felt as though his bones were on the verge of shattering. Chapter 12. An unexpected encounter with close companions in the apocalypse. The burly man suddenly let out a piercing scream, shocking everyone present. It was at this moment they recognized the formidable prowess of the very employer who had promised them a raise. Those seemingly delicate hands possessed the strength to manipulate a man of his stature effortlessly. They were all profoundly astonished. This was the effect Lin Qifeng sought, a blend of the carrot and the stick, ensuring that those before him would view him with both respect and trepidation in the shortest span of time. Lin Qifeng released the man's right hand, yet he crouched on the ground, cradling his injured limb and groaning in agony. He had never experienced such excruciating pain. The courage of those who had previously been eager to challenge him vanished alongside the burly man's lamentations. No one dared to step forward and confront Lin Qifeng again. Lin Qifeng orchestrated the arrangement, categorizing all challengers into Group 1, while the remainder formed Group 2, with all receiving a 100 salary increase. Though it appeared there was no distinction, in truth, the individuals in Group 1 had been entirely forsaken by Lin Qifeng. From Group 2, he selected 20 individuals based on a simple criterion, those whose eyes bore no trace of malevolence. Lin Qifeng required their assistance for numerous tasks, such as further expanding the underground basement beneath his villa. Lin Qifeng possesses the capability to design blueprints for construction. However, he cannot rely solely on himself to execute the construction. The expansion of the basement is imperative to rescue more individuals. Given this opportunity of rebirth, he is determined to accomplish greater things. He seeks not to be alone, but to gather a multitude around him, thereby forming a formidable force, potentially even creating a new civilization. Bringing along only 20 individuals this time is the most prudent arrangement, as the current space in the basement is limited and cannot accommodate more people working simultaneously. Lin Qifeng informs these 20 individuals to wait, assuring them that vehicles will arrive to transport them while he departs in his own vehicle. Halfway through the journey, Lin Qifeng receives a phone call from Sister Yu, the restaurant owner, who informs him that the second batch of meals, which was supposed to be delivered, has been obstructed by a group of women at the door. Lin Qifeng, upon hearing this, cannot contain his fury. His time is incredibly precious, and any delay in supplies is unacceptable. What astonishes him further is the audacity of these women. Consequently, Lin Qifeng turns his vehicle around and heads to Sister Yu's restaurant. Upon arrival, as he holds the hand of the petite girl and steps inside the restaurant, Lin Qifeng is taken aback. He never anticipated encountering an old acquaintance here. To refer to her as an ex-lover would not be entirely inaccurate. In this apocalyptic world, two circumstances evoke the greatest fear: the scarcity of food and the profound sense of loneliness. Furthermore, the constant threat to one's life amplifies Lin Qifeng's pressure. Thus, he finds solace in seeking companionship. The woman leading the commotion is none other than Sister Yun, a significant figure in alleviating his stress during the apocalypse. He met her in the first year of the catastrophic events. She is 3 years his senior, and while he typically addresses her as Sister Yun in moments of intimacy, she playfully calls him brother or uncle. She is an exceptionally intriguing woman, and around her is a gathering of stunningly beautiful women. As Sister Yun is the leader of a dance troupe, as Lin Qifeng glances at Sister Yun, he recognizes a dozen lovely women, all of whom share an inexplicable closeness with him. Since their initial meeting, these women have largely relied on Lin Qifeng's support to survive, effectively constituting his female battalion. Such dynamics are commonplace in the apocalypse. One cannot impose the moral standards of a normal society upon those who have abandoned all rules in their struggle for survival, where the only principle left is to live by any means necessary. Sister Yu, upon seeing Lin Qifeng, hurriedly approaches, saying, "Mr. Lin, I sincerely apologize. This was an oversight on our part. These guests had reserved a gathering at our restaurant today, but we neglected to inform them of the cancellation. However, we are willing to offer them triple compensation, yet they remain unyielding." Lin Qifeng smiled and said, "Sister Yu, please prepare everything for them according to the highest standards of your restaurant. My treat." Sister Yu, looking troubled, replied, "Mr. Lin, if they were agreeable, I wouldn't need to contact you. I had arranged everything long ago, but they refuse." Lin Qifeng turned to Sister Yun, who coldly retorted, "Of course we do not agree. We came here in high spirits to dine, and you have thoroughly ruined our mood." A somewhat alluring young woman exclaimed, "You have affected our sister's good spirits. So do not expect to have a pleasant time yourselves." Suddenly, Lin Qifeng recalled a past conversation he had with Sister Yun after a storm. She had casually mentioned that her greatest regret in life was not winning the gold medal in a dance competition held before the apocalypse. She had been confident of securing the gold, only to be unexpectedly defeated by a dark horse. Understanding this, Lin Qifeng realized that the women had gathered for a celebratory feast, but with disappointing results. They were now filled with pent-up frustration, hence their current ire. He looked at the enchanting young woman and said, "Xiao Di, you are usually timid, screaming at the mere sight of a bug, yet here you are, the first to instigate trouble." Upon uttering these words, everyone fell silent, and Lin Qifeng himself was taken aback, realizing he had let slip a secret. In the midst of the apocalypse, he had become too familiar with them, and thus the words had escaped his lips. Xiao Kur narrowed her eyes slightly. When did Lin Qifeng become such a charmer? No wonder he had abruptly ended things with her. He had encountered someone more beguiling. Xiao Di stared at Lin Qifeng in disbelief and asked, "How do you know me? You even know my nickname, which I have never revealed to anyone, except my parents and grandmother." Sister Yun and the others looked equally astonished, gazing at Lin Qifeng. Although Xiao Di often appeared fierce, only those who truly knew her understood that she was as timid as a mouse, frightened half to death by any insect. Yet, they were clearly meeting Lin Qifeng for the first time. How did he know the secret? Was he a voyeur or some sort of deranged stalker? Chapter 13. The Mind Reader. Fortunately, Lin Qifeng was unaware of the thoughts swirling in Sister Yun's mind at that moment. Otherwise, he would have been unable to restrain himself from chastising them. Lin Qifeng looked at Xiao Di and smiled. "Although this is our first meeting, I must confess, I am a mind reader. With just one glance, I can unravel all the secrets that lie within you." Xiao Di's curiosity was piqued, and she asked, "I don't believe you. Then tell me, what secrets do I have?" Lin Qifeng reminisced about his solitary moments with Xiao Di amidst the apocalypse, a mischievous grin inevitably curling at the corners of his mouth. He approached Xiao Di and leaned in to whisper in her ear, "Your greatest secret is your profound insecurity, stemming from that red birthmark near your uniquely special area." Xiao Di's mouth fell open in shock, wide enough to accommodate a goose egg. This was indeed her most humiliating secret, one she had never shared with anyone, not even her parents or grandmother. How on earth did this fellow know? Could it be true, as he claimed, that he was a master of mind reading? Observing Xiao Di's astonished expression, Lin Qifeng couldn't help but envision the playful moments he had teased her during the end times. Thus, with a sense of triumph, he teased, "Actually, I know another one of your secrets. Should I reveal it to everyone?" Xiao Di couldn't contain her embarrassment, her enchanting, rosy face instantly flushed. She indeed harbored another secret. Her insatiable curiosity regarding why people of the opposite sex were so enamored with kissing. In pursuit of this mystery, she had once, while her roommate Pimping slept, stealthily tested it on Pimping's lips, yet felt nothing. This was something she had never disclosed to anyone, only sharing it as a joke when alone with Lin Qifeng. Consequently, at that moment, Xiao Di fully believed that Lin Qifeng truly possessed mind-reading abilities, and she was terrified of him publicly revealing her secret. It would be utterly mortifying. Eager to divert the conversation, she declared, "I still don't believe you can read minds. Just mentioning my secret proves nothing. If you really have the skill, tell us a secret about our team leader." Lin Qifeng chuckled inwardly. This little girl was remarkably consistent in her character. At a critical moment, she was indeed loyal to her comrades. He turned to Sister Yun and said, "Sister Yun, you mustn't blame me. It was Xiao Di who urged me to speak." Sister Yun gasped in surprise. "You even know my name. Speak. Have you been secretly spying on us?" Lin Qifeng, exasperated, retorted, "Sister Yun, you are usually quite astute. Why are you talking nonsense now? Even if I were a voyeur, would I possess the ability to uncover the secrets hidden within your hearts? I certainly lack any supernatural powers." Meanwhile, the ever-curious Jingjing chimed in. "Then tell us what secrets Sister Yun harbors in her heart." Jingjing, the mischievous one, always enjoyed teasing others, yet she was also a source of joy. Sister Yun shot a fierce glare at Jingjing. Her antics were ill-timed. What if this fellow truly revealed her secrets? Jingjing stuck out her tongue and made a silly face. Lin Qifeng turned to Jingjing and said, "I could divulge a secret about you first. Your greatest secret is that your feet are of unequal length. Your left foot is 1 centimeter longer than your right." After listening, Jingjing displayed an exaggerated expression, extending her thumbs and exclaiming, "Master, you are truly remarkable." Lin Qifeng couldn't help but chuckle, amused by the antics of this little girl, as she was as playful as ever. However, Jingjing suddenly turned serious and said, "But we want to hear Sister Yun's secret." Sister Yun, unable to contain her frustration, scolded, "You little brat, be quiet." Now convinced that Lin Qifeng was indeed a master of mind reading, She was determined to prevent him from revealing her secrets. Hastily silencing Jingjing's mischief, Lin Qifeng gently cleared his throat and remarked, I understand that your spirits are low due to not securing the gold medal in the recently held dance competition. However, I assure you that you will soon realize that both gold and silver medals are but ephemeral glories. To lift your spirits, feel free to indulge in whatever you desire today. All expenses are on me. Xiao Kuer, observing the unfolding events, discreetly took out her phone and messaged her uncle. Du Feng, uncle, do not even think about deceiving Lin Qifeng. I just discovered that he possesses extraordinary abilities. With just a glance, he can uncover all your secrets. This is absolutely true, remember. One wonders how Xiao Kuer would react upon discovering the truth one day. Lin Qifeng's display of prowess instantly captivated Sister Yun and her companions, extinguishing their earlier mischief, especially since he was treating them, redirecting their attention. Seeing the trouble resolved, Yu Jie hurried off to prepare meals for Sister Yun and her friends. In that moment, Jingjing grabbed the little one, and soon they transformed into inseparable confidants. Lin Qifeng leaned closer to Sister Yun and whispered, Sister Yun, I must share a monumental secret with you. I noticed from your and your friends' appearances that in 9 days, you all will face a significant calamity. To navigate this crisis safely, you must come to me. He then provided her with his address. Lin Qifeng genuinely cared for Sister Yun and her friends, worried that this meeting might alter their destinies in 9 days. If it were to unfold positively, it would be of no concern. But what if it took a turn for the worse? Hence, he felt compelled to inform Sister Yun. Sister Yun looked at him and asked softly, How do you know so much about us and care for us? I feel as if we must have met somewhere before. Hearing her words, Lin Qifeng couldn't help but smile inwardly. Who could possibly be more familiar with her than he was? He replied, Sister Yun, some matters are not suitable to discuss here. If you trust me, accompany me home today, and I will reveal more to you. Sister Yun hesitated, her expression showing uncertainty. Lin Qifeng leaned closer to her ear and assured, Rest easy, Sister Yun, I would never harm you. I am fully aware of all your secrets, including the incident from your childhood when you stealthily took money from your mother to buy candy. Seizing the moment when no one was paying attention, Yin Jie fiercely pinched Lin Qifeng's thigh. Caught completely off guard, Lin Qifeng let out a blood-curdling scream. Chapter 14. Come home with me. Yin Jie, all eyes turned to the wailing Lin Qifeng. The little one, filled with concern, asked, Brother, what happened to you? Lin Qifeng, suppressing the pain, forced a smile and replied, Oh, it's nothing. A big rat just scurried over my leg and gave me quite a fright. At that moment, Xiao Di suddenly let out a heart-wrenching scream. There's a rat. As anticipated, had she been even slightly more familiar with him, she would likely have leapt into his arms seeking comfort. Yun Jie shot a glare at Xiao Di, saying, You silly girl. Is it necessary to react so dramatically just because you heard the word rat? Do you believe everything you hear? Xiao Di, somewhat disgruntled, asked, Is there really no rat? Jing, with a mischievous smile, chimed in, Oh, there must be a rat. It's just uncertain what species it belongs to. The little one, intrigued, inquired, Sister, are there many different kinds of rats? Yun Jie felt a vain throb on her forehead, while Lin Qifeng struggled to suppress a laugh. Strangely enough, she felt no trace of annoyance or embarrassment. There seemed to be a natural affinity between her and Lin Qifeng. She could not fathom the origin of this connection, but it was undeniably enchanting, drawing her closer to him. After the lively gathering concluded, Xiao Di and Jing returned to their dance troupe, while Yun Jie rode home in Lin Qifeng's vehicle. Xiao Kuer wore a bitter expression, her heart heavy with regret. She lamented the fact that Lin Qifeng had somehow acquired the extraordinary ability to read minds. Had she known sooner, her thoughts would not have been so tumultuous. Accompanying Lin Qifeng's car was a delivery vehicle, which he instructed to leave the meals in his courtyard. However, once Yun Jie and the little one entered the house, he promptly stored all the food in his extraordinary storage space. With only 8 days remaining until the impending apocalypse, his concerns were diminishing. Thus, it mattered little if Xiao Kuer harbored doubts. Before she could unravel the mystery of what was occurring, the calamity would be upon them. At that moment, the vehicles carrying the 20 security personnel that Lin Qifeng had arranged arrived. He ushered them into the villa and led them to the basement, where he began assigning tasks. Guided by meticulously planned blueprints he had prepared long ago, the blueprints depicted the designs for the Lin family basement, which had undergone multiple expansions in anticipation of the apocalypse, remaining unaltered and meticulously drawn. Therefore, as long as they followed Lin Qifeng's architectural plans, safety would be assured. These designs had withstood the trials of the impending catastrophe. Remarkably, this time, Lin Qifeng had shifted the construction timeline from post-apocalypse to pre-apocalypse. In order to motivate them to work willingly, Lin Qifeng promised to reward each of them with an additional 1,000 yuan for every day spent working in the basement, atop their existing salaries. Upon hearing this enticing offer, the eyes of the 20 security guards gleamed with excitement. They yearned to spend every hour of the day in the basement. Fortunately, the basement of the Lin family villa had been designed to be quite spacious, equipped with all necessary living essentials and a complete set of tools. Thus, accommodating the guards' work and living needs posed no issues whatsoever. After arranging for them, Lin Qifeng returned to the main floor of the villa, where he was greeted by a rather peculiar scene. Yuman was glaring at Xiao Kuer with palpable hostility, while Xiao Kuer, dejected, cast a sidelong glance at Sister Yun. Her expression clearly conveyed a message. You have mistaken your adversary. I am not your foe. This woman is. Meanwhile, Sister Yun appeared to be casually admiring the villa's decor. Upon noticing Lin Qifeng's entrance, Yuman inquired, Mr. Lin, what is going on here? In an effort to alleviate the awkward tension that hung in the air, Lin Qifeng forced a smile and said, Yuman, Xiao Kuer is merely staying for a few days and will soon depart. You need not worry. She is just a temporary guest, and I have no further ties with her. Upon hearing Lin Qifeng's words, Xiao Kuer's countenance fell, shrouded in sorrow. Lin Qifeng then turned to Sister Yun, introducing her. This is Sister Yun, a very dependable person. Soon, you will realize how vital she is to us and how she can be an excellent ally. Sister Yun retorted, who said I am here to assist you. To which Lin Qifeng replied with a chuckle, trust me, Sister Yun, your dance troupe will soon find itself with plenty of free time. Yuman began to relax slightly, relieved that Xiao Kuer was not rekindling her relationship with Lin Qifeng, thus harboring little animosity towards Sister Yun. Sister Yun remained silent, planning to inquire about the situation when she found an opportunity to speak with Lin Qifeng alone. Her intuition told her something was amiss. Lin Qifeng then asked Yuman, when can we expect the supplies to arrive at the earliest? Yuman responded, the first batch can arrive as soon as tomorrow. I have instructed the logistics company to expedite the process at all costs. Lin Qifeng looked at her in surprise. What has prompted such understanding from you all of a sudden? Yuman replied, I am merely curious about how you intend to store those supplies. Lin Qifeng approached her and whispered, come with me tomorrow, and I will reveal my greatest secret to you. But can you promise to keep your lips sealed? He genuinely intended to share his most significant secret with Yuman, as he required her, as a capable assistant and partner, for their collaboration to be more efficient. It was crucial to maintain complete trust and transparency without any gaps. Time was indeed of the essence. Even a slight increase in efficiency could lead to a substantial accumulation of supplies. After all, only 8 days remained until the deadline. Yuman gazed at Lin Qifeng and lowered her voice, assuring him, I promise I won't disclose your secret to anyone. Lin Qifeng nodded slightly, then turned to Xiao Kuer, instructing, you shouldn't linger here. Go and tidy up the yard. Xiao Kuer, daunted by the command, hurried away to clean the yard. Sister Yun remarked, hey, how can you lack a little compassion? Such a stunning beauty, and you choose to torment her in this manner. Lin Qifeng looked at Sister Yun and said, Sister Yun, I understand you have countless questions. If you wish to know the answers, follow me. Without hesitation, Sister Yun trailed behind Lin Qifeng as they entered his bedroom. Lin Qifeng smiled at Sister Yun, saying, close the door, Sister Yun. Sister Yun, with a hint of caution, inquired, what are you planning to do? I must inform you, I am not a woman to be trifled with. Lin Qifeng replied with a grin. If you prefer not to close the door, then so be it. After all, it will not be I who feels embarrassed if others overhear our conversation. Just as he finished speaking, Sister Yun decisively shut the door with a bang. Chapter 15. The revival of future affection. Sister Yun turned to Lin Qifeng, earnestly asking, now can you elucidate what exactly is happening? Don't tell me you can read minds. I do not believe that at all. Moreover, why do I feel such an inexplicable familiarity upon meeting you? Lin Qifeng chuckled, responding, Sister Yun, the reason you feel such a connection is merely because you harbor feelings for me. Instead of feeling angered, Sister Yun appeared perplexed and replied, but today is indeed our first encounter. Lin Qifeng smiled, suggesting, perhaps we are merely rekindling the bond of a past life. Sister Yun rolled her eyes at him, saying, nonsense. Can't you be serious for once? Lin Qifeng stepped closer, gently tousling her hair, and remarked, Sister Yun, whether you believe it or not, you are, in essence, mine. I have toiled over this piece of land for 20 years. Sister Yun shot him a fierce glare, exclaiming, nonsense. How old were we 20 years ago? Lin Qifeng chuckled. Sister Yun, I anticipated that such a statement would infuriate you, yet you seem unperturbed. Why is that? Sister Yun pondered, I cannot fathom why I am not angry. I just feel that what you say might be true. It's a rather strange sensation, one I cannot articulate. Lin Qifeng gently played with her hair, stating, it is because I speak the truth, and deep down, you know it as well. It is simply that you cannot recall it. Sister Yun fixed her gaze on Lin Qifeng, rendered speechless. Suddenly, Lin Qifeng, struck by inspiration, asked, When we spend time together, what do you most enjoy calling me? Can you share that with me? Sister Yun looked at him, taking a moment before confessing, I have always been alone, yearning for a strong shoulder to lean on. Upon seeing you, I felt you could be my support. I wish to call you brother. Lin Qifeng embraced the woman before him, laughing, this sensation is truly extraordinary. I did not intentionally seek you out, yet we coincidentally crossed paths in this manner. Though you may not remember anything, it seems your feelings for me have always lingered. Yuan Jie said nothing, simply embracing Lin Qifeng in silence. Meanwhile, in the living room, Xiao Ke entered, her brow glistening with sweat. She looked at Yu Man and derisively remarked, President Yu, it was truly laughable just now. You actually considered me your adversary. Now, do you comprehend who your true enemy is? Yu Man, engrossed in watching cartoons with the little one, chose to ignore Xiao Ke, unperturbed by the dismissal. Xiao Ke approached Yu Man and whispered, President Yu, if I were in your position, I would not remain so composed while watching cartoons. I can assure you, those two are undoubtedly indulging in frivolities. Yu Man shot a glare at Xiao Ke, retorting, Lin Zong, and I do not share the kind of relationship you envision. Xiao Ke scoffed, we are all women here. Women understand each other's hearts best. Would you dare to wager with me that that woman will not leave tonight? A sudden blaze of anger ignited within Yu Man, and she coldly replied, Are you attempting to provoke me deliberately, hoping to incite me to disrupt things? You have miscalculated. What Lin Zong chooses to do is his prerogative, and I have no right to interfere. Xiao Ke countered angrily, but why did you display such animosity toward me earlier? Yu Man sneered, the reason is quite simple. I dislike your character. Being with Lin Zong would undoubtedly harm him, which is why I hold such disdain for you. Is that reason satisfactory? Xiao Ke was about to retort when the little one interjected, Snake Beauty, do not assume that just because my brother is not here, you can act with impunity. My brother is quite formidable. He will know everything you do. Terrified, Xiao Ke promptly fell silent, genuinely fearing Lin Qifeng now. The little one continued, Snake Beauty, both my sister-in-law and I are thirsty. Please fetch us 2 glasses of drinks. Xiao Ke's eyes widened in shock. The little one had actually referred to Yu Man as sister-in-law, and Yu Man had not objected. The dynamics were exceedingly perplexing. Yet, at that moment, she could only ruminate silently, daring not to utter another word. The next morning, as dawn broke, Yuan Jie groggily sensed a lightness in her body. Upon opening her eyes, she saw that Lin Qifeng had already risen. She sleepily inquired, What time is it? I still have an early class to attend. Lin Qifeng chuckled, It's still early. What early class? You should rest well after last night's exertions. I will wake you when it's time for breakfast. Struggling to rise, Yuan Jie protested. How can I do that? I am the leader of the dance troupe. I cannot skip class. Lin Qifeng laughed. In your current state, can you even perform a split? If you doubt me, show me your prowess. Yuan Jie shot him an exasperated glance, saying, You are incorrigible, taking advantage and then playing innocent. Fine, I will treat today. Lin Qifeng replied with a smile, I will ensure you see what I promised last night, revealing my greatest secret. Just don't be too astonished. After receiving the breakfast sent by Yu Jie, he called for the little one and Yu Man to wake up, noticing Yu Man's peculiar gaze towards Lin Qifeng. Lin Qifeng pretended to have seen nothing and approached her with a smile, urging her to seize the moment and have breakfast, and then follow him outside, assuring her that all her curiosity would be satisfied. Yu Man, however, inquired whether that sister Yun had truly not left. Lin Qifeng awkwardly chuckled, stating that they would go together shortly, hence she had not departed. Yu Man could not help but pout. An indescribable feeling stirred within her. In truth, Lin Qifeng's parents had subtly hinted to Yu Man on more than one occasion about their desire for her to become their daughter-in-law. However, an unforeseen tragedy claimed both of their lives, delaying such aspirations. Consequently, Yu Man found herself unable to tolerate Xiao Ke, yet just as Xiao left, another sister Yun appeared. Yu Man could only lament her ill-timed fate. After breakfast, each individual consumed their meal with varying sentiments. Lin Qifeng then arranged the work meals for the security personnel and prepared to depart. This was, for him, the utmost priority, as the storage of these supplies was directly linked to all his future plans. Xiao Ke, with a sense of self-awareness, fetched a cup of hot water. Lin Qifeng contemplated for a moment and suggested she stay behind, adding that if she wished to leave, she was free to do so. With that, he took the little one along with Yu Man and Sister Yin out the door. Xiao Ke remained rooted in place, puzzled by Lin Qifeng's sudden indifference towards her potential departure. Was this a deliberate test on his part? Consequently, she retrieved her phone and dialed Dufeng. Uncle, what is the situation there? We must not allow any errors. It seems he is intentionally testing us, no longer confining my freedom. Yet I can't shake the feeling of being watched, as if he possesses an omnipotent presence. It's quite unsettling. Chapter 16. stockpiling enough for 500 years. This marked the 8th day in the countdown to the apocalypse. Both the sky and the ground exhibited numerous ominous signs. Yet the hurried humans remained oblivious to these warnings. Even if they did notice, they lacked understanding of their significance. However, Lin Qifeng, having been reborn, was acutely aware that this heralded the impending end of the world. For instance, the fiery clouds in the sky bore an uncanny resemblance to the scenes preceding the arrival of cataclysmic flames. It appeared as if flames were ablaze in the air. While many merely expressed curiosity, snapping photos to share on social media, Lin Qifeng drove with 2 older women and a young girl to the designated construction site, the destination for his stockpiled goods. Upon their arrival, the first batch of refrigerated trucks had already reached the location. In a show of sincerity, General Zhang personally drove there. Upon seeing Lin Qifeng, he greeted him warmly, exclaiming, "President Lin, your actions truly exceed my expectations. Is this location suitable for storing fresh produce? Should any spoilage occur, it will not be our responsibility. This time, we have brought 30,000 pounds of beef and lamb. Can you confirm that this storage method is adequate?" Lin Qifeng discerned the sarcasm in his tone and replied with a smile, "Rest assured, Mr. Zhang, even if everything is compromised and has nothing to do with you, our contract will continue to be honored." In their hearts, both men simultaneously cursed each other as fools. Having received Lin Qifeng's assurance, Mr. Zhang decided not to linger and drove away. Lin Qifeng instructed that the lamb and beef be placed in the construction site as shed. The workers, perplexed, said nothing. They would do as the boss commanded. After unloading the goods, the workers departed, leaving Lin Qifeng, Yuman, Sister Yun, and Little Point behind. Yuman asked, "Is this the storage method you mentioned, General Lin?" Lin Qifeng chuckled, "This is certainly not the storage method I spoke of. Regardless of what you witness next, no matter how astonishing it may be, you must keep it strictly confidential and refrain from disclosing it to anyone. Can you manage that?" Seeing his earnestness, Yuman nodded. "You can rest assured, General Lin, I will not disclose anything." Sister Yun added, "Neither will I share it with anyone." Even Little Point chimed in, "Brother, I won't tell anyone either." With a smile, Lin Qifeng declared, "Now, allow me to reveal a shocking truth. I am, in fact, a great and talented magician. Whatever you do, do not blink, and pay close attention." Yuman, Sister Yun, and Little Point fixed their gazes intently on the lamb and beef within the shed. However, after a considerable period, the mountain of meat remained unchanged. Yuman, her eyes aching from staring, grew increasingly frustrated and turned to Lin Qifeng, questioning, "You are no longer a child. Why make such a serious matter into a prank? Don't you find that rather tedious?" Sister Yun and Little Point also looked at Lin Qifeng, awaiting his explanation. Lin Qifeng chuckled, "Why do you 3 look at me like that? It is your eyesight that is lacking. My magic has indeed been performed, yet you have noticed nothing. Shouldn't you reflect on yourselves instead of questioning me?" Yuman, now even angrier, retorted, "If I didn't regard your parents as my own, I wouldn't want to indulge in such childish antics with you for even a moment." With that, she turned to leave, only to be stopped by Lin Qifeng's hand on her shoulder. "Are you certain you wish to depart and miss such a magnificent magic show?" he teased. Fuming, Yuman replied, "Is this what you call magic, treating us like monkeys?" Just then, Little Point exclaimed, "Wow, brother, you are amazing. All the lamb and beef have vanished. You truly are incredible." It turned out that while Yuman and the others were focused on him, Lin Qifeng had merely willed it, effortlessly storing all the lamb and beef into his extraordinary storage space. Upon hearing Little Point's exclamation, Yuman turned around to find the shed, once brimming with meat, now entirely empty. Both Yuman and Sister Yun stood in stunned silence. The 2 of them felt as though their minds were utterly blank. Was what they witnessed truly a magic trick? They could hardly believe their eyes. Lin Qifeng reached out and patted their shoulders, feigning a sigh. "I told you not to blink, yet you chose to ignore my advice. How unfortunate that you missed this magnificent spectacle." The little one, still in awe, clutched Lin Qifeng's hand and eagerly implored, "Brother, please tell me how you accomplished this." Yuman and Sister Yun turned their heads mechanically towards Lin Qifeng, awaiting his explanation. However, Lin Qifeng, brimming with pride, replied, "I did grant you an opportunity, yet you failed to seize it. You cannot blame me. Perhaps next time." Yuman huffed in silence, convinced that with the abundance of supplies arriving from today onward, she would surely uncover some clues. In contrast, Sister Yun gazed at Lin Qifeng with starry eyes, finding him increasingly handsome. The supplies that flowed in throughout the morning were indeed plentiful and diverse, showcasing the advantage of owning a logistics company. Initially, the quantities of various materials were measured in pounds and pieces, but by afternoon, they were counted in tons. A rough estimate of the day's incoming supplies suggested they would last for 500 years. Each time Lin Qifeng stored these materials in his extraordinary space, He did so while the three girls were distracted, leading the little one to become frantic, clinging to Lin Qifeng's neck and playfully demanding answers. Lin Qifeng's responses remained consistent. I warned you not to blink, yet you couldn't maintain your focus. You cannot hold me accountable. I did provide you with a chance. He found this playful exchange far more entertaining than revealing the true answer. Ultimately, the three girls grew completely numb to the situation, resigned to the fact that they could not discern how the magic trick was performed, and decided to regard it as a dream. As evening approached, Lin Qifeng resolved to return home, regardless of any new supplies that might arrive. He would not unload them just yet. Upon returning home, he conveniently collected the meals sent by Sister Yu. The 8th day passed in a frenzy of stockpiling. Just after dinner, Lin Qifeng received a phone call from Du Feng. Chapter 17. The frantic plan to exchange cultural relics for supplies. Lin Qifeng was quite curious about Du Feng's unexpected call. They had clearly agreed upon a 5-day time frame, and it was still before that designated period. Nevertheless, Lin Qifeng answered the call. Mr. Lin, I sincerely apologize for disturbing you at such a late hour, but I have some urgent updates to report. Du Feng's humble and respectful demeanor took Lin Qifeng by surprise. Of course, Lin Qifeng had no inkling that this was all thanks to Qiao Kur. What is it you wish to discuss? Lin Qifeng's tone was rather brusque. However, Du Feng remained unfazed and politely replied, Indeed, Mr. Lin, I hold the tasks you entrusted to me in high regard. Su Cha has dispatched an individual who requires a meeting with you for a discussion. Might I inquire if you could spare a moment for this encounter? Lin Qifeng felt acutely that the time and personnel were alarmingly insufficient. With his daytime commitments to receiving goods, he could hardly find a moment to spare, and there was no one available to negotiate in his stead. Thus, he inquired, what needs to be discussed? Is it the price or the quantity? The protocol of Su Cha mandated that a meeting must precede any transaction to ensure the reliability of the counterpart. Surely, there is no need for you to trouble me with such matters. Simply consider this batch of arms as your purchase, and then relay the price to me. I shall facilitate the transfer from you, he suggested. However, Mr. Lin, I genuinely do not know the quantity you require, and a deposit must be made in advance. To be candid, I am rather short on funds at the moment, Du Feng confessed, a hint of embarrassment evident in his voice. Realizing that Du Feng was, in fact, financially constrained and unable to front the cost of the arms, Lin Qifeng instructed, Please provide me with an account number. I shall remit a deposit to you shortly. With that, he concluded the call. If he still had any funds available, he needed to utilize them promptly, for in 7 days, they would be rendered void. Lin Qifeng turned to Yu Man and inquired about the current cash balance in their account. Yu Man responded, We presently have 300 million in cash, while the remainder has been allocated to the executives as commissions. Additionally, we have contracts to sign tomorrow. Our liquidity is rather constrained. After a moment of contemplation, Lin Qifeng declared, Transfer the entire 300 million to Du Feng. I will devise a solution for the remaining funds. Rising from his seat, he instructed, Come with me. Yu Man followed him upstairs, while Sister Yin entertained the little one with animated shows. On the upper floor, there was a dedicated storage room, akin to a colossal safe, housing the artifacts collected by Lin Qifeng's parents. Though these items had little utility, it was time for them to serve a purpose. Although Lin Qifeng possessed the key to the storage room, he had never ventured inside. He remained unaware of its contents until the apocalypse obliterated the storeroom. Upon reaching the 3rd floor of the villa, Lin Qifeng retrieved the key and entered the code to unlock the storage room. As the heavy security door swung open, both Lin Qifeng and Yu Man were taken aback by the sight before them. In addition to numerous boxes, a substantial pile of gold bars lay stacked in the corner, weighing several tons. Lin Qifeng marveled at his parents' foresight. He had presumed they stored only artifacts and paintings, never anticipating the extent of their gold reserves. He stepped into the room and began to open box after box, discovering a plethora of artifacts within: bronze wares, paintings, porcelain, lacquerware, and jade. The diversity is extraordinarily rich. It could practically serve as a museum. Yu Man stood outside the door, lost in thought, when Lin Qifeng shouted at her, What are you dawdling for? Hurry up and come in. Only then did Yu Man regain her senses and step into the room. Lin Qifeng remarked, These items are worth hundreds of billions, if not more. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Yu Man, in a daze, nodded slightly. Lin Qifeng looked at her earnestly and said, I need you to collaborate closely with me to convert all these items into resources within 5 days. Can you manage that? Yu Man numbly nodded but still inquired, But could you enlighten me as to why we are doing this? You have already stockpiled so many materials. Lin Qifeng chuckled, Do I have enough resources? I feel I am still far from sufficient. Be patient. In 7 days, you will discover the real answer. Yu Man pressed on, Why 7 days? Lin Qifeng replied with a smile, Be patient. Can you not wait a few days? After a moment of silence, Yu Man spoke, There are far too many items here. I have an idea, but I wonder if you would agree with it? Lin Qifeng nodded and encouraged. Do share. I hold your ideas in high regard. I trust your intellect. Yuman proposed, in such a short time, to effectively utilize all these artifacts. We should hold a resource exchange auction. Lin Qifeng's eyes lit up as he exclaimed, Yuman, I knew your mind was exceptional. This idea is simply brilliant. Please elaborate. Flattered by his praise, Yuman felt a surge of happiness. Having observed Lin Qifeng's day-long magic performance, she understood that he pursued these endeavors with purpose, not on a whim. Thus, she wholeheartedly supported him, contributing her cleverness and wisdom. She continued, we can organize all these artifacts and promote them publicly. These are your parents' collections, which will eliminate any doubts about their authenticity. Then, we can announce an auction in 3 days, allowing people to exchange essential goods for these artifacts. Their enthusiasm will surely be high. Lin Qifeng nodded in agreement. While some individuals might not have ample cash, many factories and warehouses are rich in stock. Yuman's idea was indeed astute and remarkably efficient. This approach would eliminate numerous intermediaries and save a considerable amount of time. If they were to first convert these artifacts into cash and then seek goods to purchase, the remaining 7 days might not suffice. Once the apocalypse descends, these artifacts would lose their value. Lin Qifeng approached Yuman and patted her shoulder, saying, I truly did not misjudge you. You are an exceptionally capable assistant. Let's proceed as you suggested. I believe you will execute this task flawlessly. Flushed with Lin Qifeng's praise, Yuman couldn't help but feel a slight warmth in her cheeks. She was indeed shy. Chapter 18. Anticipation and Deterrence. Before long, Dufeng sent over an account, prompting Lin Qifeng to instruct Yuman to transfer the remaining 300 million in cash all at once. Upon witnessing the newly credited funds, Dufeng was utterly astonished. He had never encountered such an immense sum in his lifetime. His first thought was to forsake the arms trade altogether and instead seek a tranquil haven where he could enjoy his later years. Perhaps indulging in the company of several charming companions, reveling in a life of bliss akin to that of deities. Yet, recollections of previous conversations with Xiao Kuer began to cloud his mind, igniting a tide of hesitation within him. Dufeng found himself engulfed in a fierce internal struggle. At that moment, Lin Qifeng entered Xiao Kuer's room, eliciting an involuntary surge of joy within her. Could it be that this man could no longer contain his desires for her? If that were indeed the case, she resolved to present herself splendidly, striving to ensure that he would become so enchanted that he could never bear to part from her. However, Lin Qifeng spoke, delivering a message for her uncle Dufeng, whom he described as a miser who had undoubtedly never beheld such wealth. Now, having suddenly acquired 300 million, he might very well be contemplating escape. You must inform him that fleeing is a perilous dead end. Should he choose not to run, both he and you could amass even greater fortunes. With that, Lin Qifeng turned to leave, casually shutting the door behind him. Xiao Kuer hastily retrieved her phone and dialed her uncle's number. Uncle, are you considering fleeing? Kuer, do not speak nonsense. Upon hearing her uncle's response, Xiao Kuer grasped the situation entirely. Uncle, you must not be foolish. Do you know why I called? It was Lin Qifeng who urged me to reach out to you. He is aware of your intentions to escape and has instructed me to warn you against such thoughts. Otherwise, you will face immediate demise. If you refrain from fleeing, you can earn far more than this 300 million. Dufeng listened, his expression turning to one of sheer horror. Could it be that Lin Qifeng possessed some divine insight? The very thoughts that had just crossed his mind were articulated with uncanny precision. Furthermore, the ominous prediction of his imminent death suggested he was under constant surveillance. A cold sweat began to bead on his forehead, saturating the back of his shirt. Indeed, Lin Qifeng was no ordinary man. He was terrifyingly formidable. Kuer, what else did he say to you? Nothing more than this. Dufeng fell into a long silence. Uncle, are you truly contemplating escape? Kuer, what do you believe Lin Qifeng is capable of? Uncle, you must not be foolish. I sense he is a man of boundless abilities, with every one of our actions firmly within his grasp. At that juncture, he might genuinely kill you. I understand. Dufeng ended the call, his face ashen. He had always been a fugitive, yet never before had he felt such profound terror as he did today. Ultimately, he resolved that since Lin Qifeng held a firm grip on the situation, fleeing was not an option. It would lead to a dead end. It would be far wiser to engage in a legitimate transaction, as it was possible that the benefits he could acquire would indeed surpass 300 million. Such a course of action would surely be more prudent and secure. Thus, a man intent on absconding with his fortune was successfully intimidated by Lin Qifeng, yielding excellent results. The reason Lin Qifeng was capable of executing such foresight and intimidation was due to 2 decades of navigating the trials of a post-apocalyptic world, which had honed his understanding of human nature to an extraordinary degree. If there were anyone in this world who possessed a profound comprehension of humanity, it could only be Lin Qifeng. After finishing her bath, Sister Yun had just approached the bedside when she received a call from Xiao Di. Sister Yun, why haven't you returned? You haven't said a word. We thought you had been kidnapped. You silly girl, you're the one who has been kidnapped. Is Jingjing making you call me? Is she right there with you? Let her take the phone. Xiao Di's phone was already on speaker, surrounded by a group of flamboyantly dressed members of the dance troupe. Upon hearing Sister Yun's words, the beautiful young ladies could not help but burst into laughter. Hearing the laughter emanating from the phone, Sister Yun playfully scolded, I told you girls, although our competition has concluded, you must not let your studies slip just because you have some time off. Jingjing inquired, Sister, we are all very curious. Tell us the truth. Have you moved in with him? At that moment, Lin Qifeng happened to enter the room, causing Sister Yun to blush as she replied, Why are you girls so inquisitive? I will not divulge anything to you. Lin Qifeng chuckled, The one you were talking to must be Jingjing, right? If she doesn't take this opportunity to stir up trouble, it would be quite unlike her. Upon hearing Lin Qifeng's words, Jingjing exclaimed, Sister, let him speak. Sister Yun handed the phone to Lin Qifeng, saying, These girls are too curious. They insist on talking to you. If I don't satisfy their curiosity, who knows what mischief they might conjure. Suddenly, Lin Qifeng had an idea. He took the phone and switched it to speaker mode, saying, Jingjing, I have a chance for you to earn some extra money. I wonder if you're interested? Xiao Di quickly asked, Mr. Lin, I am interested. How much can we earn? Lin Qifeng replied with a smile, I am hosting an auction soon, which requires considerable preparation, around 3 to 4 days in total. I can offer you 10,000 yuan a day. How does that sound? A chorus of astonished exclamations erupted from the phone as the group of girls reacted simultaneously. Jingjing asked, Mr. Lin, is this true, or are you joking? You're not just trying to amuse us with such a large sum, are you? Lin Qifeng laughed heartily. Do I have any reason to joke with you? Come to my house tomorrow, and I will pay you up front. How does that sound? The meticulous organization and cataloging of these artifacts necessitate a substantial workforce. Relying solely on you man is utterly insufficient, and even with the assistance of Sister Yun, it remains inadequate. Moreover, Yuman has more pressing matters to attend to. These young women share a profound friendship with Lin Qifeng, forged during the apocalypse, and are entirely trustworthy. Thus, Lin Qifeng summoned them all to lend a hand. The group of girls enthusiastically agreed. As opportunities to earn extra income are rather scarce for them, they certainly would not let such a golden chance slip away. After concluding the call, Sister Yun looked at Lin Qifeng and inquired how he could afford to give them so much money, fearing it might spoil them. Lin Qifeng chuckled, expressing that he did not believe he was overly generous with the funds. Rather, he was concerned that in a few days, they might turn around and scold him. Sister Yun found this puzzling, yet Lin Qifeng offered no further explanation. He couldn't possibly divulge that in a few days, this money would become worthless, and these young ladies would undoubtedly voice their grievances. Chapter 19. Racing against time to stockpile supplies the next day, upon awakening, Lin Qifeng exhaled softly, murmuring that only 7 days remained. He gazed out at the fiery clouds, which appeared even more vivid. Unable to suppress a sigh, he remarked that the clouds were rather disheartening. Sister Yun, still groggy, opened her eyes and asked how the clouds had managed to irritate him, as they seemed quite beautiful. Lin Qifeng smiled and responded, When the sky is filled with such clouds, and they begin to descend, will you still find them lovely? Sister Yun, in confusion, noted that when clouds fall, they turn into rain, and she actually enjoyed rainy days, as they allow her to languidly sleep in bed without a care. Lin Qifeng smiled in silence, reluctant to dampen her spirits, for when the clouds descend, it will not be rain, but fire, the heavenly flames of destruction, along with fire-based malevolent spirits. This day proved to be even busier. First, he received the meals sent by Sister Yu, then inspected the progress of the basement construction, and dispatched vehicles to bring in 20 security personnel to assist with the project. Following that, he arranged for transportation to bring Xiao Di and Jingjing over. Yuman had gone to the company early to handle contract matters. After breakfast, Lin Qifeng briefed Sister Yun on the tasks to be undertaken once Jingjing and Xiao Di arrived, sharing the storage room password and handing her the key. He then took the little one to the construction site to oversee the deliveries. He had complete trust in Sister Yun. These women had shared trials and tribulations with him for 20 years, and he had absolute faith in their character. Deliveries continued, ceaselessly accumulating goods within his extraordinary storage space. Supplies multiplied, and their variety expanded. Lin Qifeng felt an increasing sense of satisfaction. At noon, Lin Qifeng received a call from Yuman, who informed him that news regarding the Lin Group's upcoming auction had been published online, causing quite a stir. Yuman's phone was nearly overwhelmed with calls, and she was struggling to keep up. Fortunately, thanks to Yuman's assistance, Ying, accompanied by her 3 roommates, managed to come to the company to lend a hand, albeit barely sufficient. However, manpower remained inadequate. Yuman inquired if Lin Qifeng could allocate personnel from within the company to assist. This was a matter Lin Qifeng had always opposed, having been previously disheartened by the executive's behavior. Thus, apart from Yuman, he was reluctant to employ anyone else from the company. Yet, recognizing the pressing need for assistance, Lin Qifeng acquiesced to Yuman's request, albeit stipulating that any chosen individual must be trustworthy and devoid of greed. This was his unwavering principle. Those selected by Yuman would essentially be granted a chance for redemption. Thus, excessive greed was unacceptable, as it might lead one to betray the group's interests in a time of crisis. Just like the executives of the Lin Group, who were reveling in their profits, Lin Qifeng did not oppose their quest for wealth. However, he would deeply appreciate any sincere counsel they might offer to the Lin Group during their pursuit. Regrettably, apart from Yuman, their sole focus was on their own gain, with none considering the well-being of the Lin Group. They were even anxious that if they delayed, Lin Qifeng might change his mind, jeopardizing their profits. Such individuals were not the allies Lin Qifeng wished to stand alongside in a time of calamity. He reflected on how fortunate he was to have encountered Yuman. Otherwise, he would have been overwhelmed by the workload. Just as Yuman concluded her call, another shipment arrived. After receiving the goods, Lin Qifeng received a call from Du Feng, whose tone had become notably more respectful. Mr. Lin, everything has been finalized. Due to the sheer volume of this batch, the delivery and payment must all take place in a no-man's land. Upon hearing this, Lin Qifeng felt a wave of frustration wash over him. He was unable to leave his current responsibilities while also needing to venture to the border's no-man's land. He felt stretched thin. However, Lin Qifeng quickly devised a strategy. He could catch a red-eye flight departing at 9 o'clock, arriving at the border around 1 in the morning. If all went smoothly, he could return on the morning flight without causing significant delays. Consequently, he promptly booked flights for himself and Xiao Ke, instructing Du Feng to secure the same itinerary. Lin Qifeng resolved to set out that very night, as he had no time to finalize any particulars. Lacking sufficient cash was inconsequential. Bringing along a few precious artifacts would likely suffice for the transaction. As dusk approached, Lin Qifeng ceased receiving goods early, instructing Sister Yun and the others to take good care of his sister, as he would be stepping out alone to attend to a matter of great importance that night. Sister Yun's eyes reflected profound reluctance, yet she said nothing. With no time to bid farewell to Yuman, he took Xiao Ke and drove to the airport. Upon arriving at the airport, Lin Qifeng met up with the approaching Du Feng, who was accompanied by 2 imposing henchmen. Noticing Lin Qifeng's submissive demeanor, Du Feng felt a profound respect for him and dared not show any disrespect. Glancing at Xiao Ke, Du Feng remarked, "Mr. Lin, those individuals are utterly unreasonable. Perhaps it would be best for Ke not to accompany us, as her presence may only complicate matters." Lin Qifeng replied nonchalantly, "It is of no concern. Once this transaction is complete, your compensation should be secured, and at that point, Xiao Ke can return with you and regain her freedom." Du Feng was about to voice further objections when Xiao Ke interjected, "Uncle, please, let us proceed as he suggests. I have no objections." Reluctantly, Du Feng nodded, deep down. He truly wished that Xiao Ke would refrain from embarking on such a perilous venture. Should an unfortunate event occur, her involvement could prove fatal, leaving no chance of survival. However, in the presence of Lin Qifeng, Du Feng no longer dared to assert his own will. The 5 of them boarded the plane, which took off toward the border city. Lin Qifeng closed his eyes to rest, while Xiao Ke sat quietly beside him, striving to regain his trust. Unfortunately, she remained unaware of the true depths of Lin Qifeng's inner turmoil. Shortly after the plane landed, Du Feng received a call from Su Cha's subordinate, informing him that they were at the airport awaiting their arrival. Exiting the aircraft alongside Lin Qifeng, Du Feng leaned in and whispered, "Su Cha is a ruthless individual, and his character is far from trustworthy. The magnitude of this transaction is exceedingly vast, so Mr. Lin, please exercise caution. We must be wary of any potential treachery." Chapter 20. A fierce confrontation. Lin Qifeng certainly contemplated Du Feng's words. However, he felt he had no alternative if he wished to secure this batch of arms. Time was not on his side for careful planning. Furthermore, he was not acting blindly. He possessed both confidence and capability. After leaving the airport, they boarded the vehicle dispatched by Su Cha. They were divided into 2 cars. Lin Qifeng and Xiao Ke shared one, while Du Feng and his 2 henchmen occupied the other. The driver maintained a peculiar smile throughout the journey, not uttering a single word. Xiao Ke appeared noticeably anxious about the driver's demeanor, yet Lin Qifeng remained unfazed. After all, he had dispatched countless fire spirits without a second thought. Before long, they reached the border, where, under the guidance of Su Cha's subordinates, They abandoned their vehicles and crossed the border on foot. Beyond the boundary, 2 more cars awaited their arrival. They reboarded the vehicles and traveled for approximately 40 minutes, arriving at the entrance of an estate. The driver brought the vehicle to a halt and allowed Lin Qifeng and his companions to disembark. At that moment, a group of armed men emerged from the estate. Brandishing submachine guns, their barrels trained on Lin Qifeng and his associates. Xiao Ku'er, being a young woman, was visibly frightened, her complexion paling. One of the men spoke, apologizing. "Forgive us, but we prioritize our safety over courtesy. It is an old custom here. Anyone who arrives must undergo a thorough inspection for weapons before being granted an audience with our commander." Lin Qifeng could not help but scoff inwardly at the audacity of a mere arms smuggler claiming such a title. However, he refrained from any form of resistance, as all his belongings resided in his divine storage space, making it impossible for them to uncover any weapons. Yet, when the man approached Xiao Ku'er with a lewd grin, a surge of fury welled up within Lin Qifeng. Regardless of her flaws, Xiao Ku'er had once been his woman. It was his prerogative to address her shortcomings, not anyone else's. If any man dared to violate her in his presence, it was akin to slapping Lin Qifeng in the face. Xiao Ku'er cast a pale glance at Du Feng, who, intimidated, remained silent. The thugs offered no room for negotiation. Offend them, and they would not hesitate to pull the trigger, leaving no avenue for redress. Thus, they had no choice but to endure. As the man approached Xiao Ku'er, extending his filthy hands, his lascivious smile grew more pronounced. Resigned, Xiao Ku'er closed her eyes, feeling abandoned, as even her uncle refused to intervene. And Lin Qifeng was unlikely to assist her. At that moment, Lin Qifeng's voice rang out, "Stop right there. It's one thing to search us men, but what merit is there in bullying a young woman? Just a glance at her attire should indicate she carries no weapons." The man halted, casting a cold glare at Lin Qifeng. "These are the rules set by our commander. Regardless of gender, anyone wishing to enter must be meticulously searched. If you refuse to allow this woman to be inspected, our agreement is null and void, and your deposit will be forfeited due to your breach of protocol." Du Feng's expression shifted dramatically at this revelation. 300 million was no trifling matter. Yet, Xiao Ku'er couldn't suppress her astonishment. Never having anticipated Lin Qifeng would stand up for her. Lin Qifeng sneered, "Let me reiterate, this woman was once mine. You shall not insult her in my presence. For your disrespect towards her is an affront to me. Do you understand?" The man cackled, addressing his comrades. "Did you hear what he just said? He claims I am insulting him. What do you think I should do, brothers?" The men around him erupted into laughter, one particularly gaunt individual chiming in mockingly, "Boss, but you haven't truly insulted him yet. Don't let him down. Go ahead and insult him." Lin Qifeng understood that this group of desperados could not be intimidated merely through words. The others erupted in laughter, chanting in unison for him to insult, to hasten the insult. Du Feng, sensing the dire turn of events, hurriedly interjected, "Captain Pasu, this is not our first meeting. For my sake, could you spare my niece? She is my niece, so please grant me this favor." Pasu sneered, "Shut your mouth. Who do you think you are? You truly believe you're one of our major clients after purchasing only 20 guns? How dare you ask for a favor?" Du Feng quickly retorted, "But this time our transaction is substantial. I have already paid a deposit of 300 million. Pasu mocked, "Yet our deal remains unfulfilled. So you are not one of our major clients. Do you comprehend that you hold no leverage?" The scrawny, sharp-faced henchman pointed his submachine gun at Du Feng and disengaged the safety. Du Feng dared not utter another word. Pasu turned to Xiao Ku'er with a malicious grin. "My dear, your figure is truly enticing. It makes my heart race. If you cooperate and allow me to inspect you comfortably, I assure you, once I am satisfied, I will advocate for you before our commander. What do you say?" Xiao Ku'er trembled in fear, unable to utter a word. Her reaction only fueled Pasu's depravity. His smile grew more sinister as he extended his filthy hand once more. Lin Qifeng let out a soft sigh. "You truly do not understand human language. If you disregard my courtesy, do not blame me for being ruthless." With that, Lin Qifeng moved swiftly, appearing behind Pasu and firmly gripping his neck. Pasu immediately rolled his eyes back in shock. Lin Qifeng seized the submachine gun slung over Pasu's shoulder, aiming it at Pasu's subordinates. "Drop your weapons. If you wish to avoid death and to spare your captain, you will obey." The henchmen, taken aback by Lin Qifeng's exceptional skills, found themselves bewildered. Before they could comprehend the situation, their captain was already subdued, and they were now under the threat of a gun. However, accustomed to their dominance on their turf, they quickly regained their composure. How could they possibly lower their weapons? Instead, they aimed their guns at Lin Qifeng's head. Chapter 21. Subduing the desperados. Lin Qifeng turned to Du Feng and stated, "Contact Su Cha directly. Inform him that if he wishes for our transaction to proceed, he must rein in his men. Otherwise, do not blame me for being uncivil. Du Feng, looking troubled, replied, I actually have no means to reach Sucha. I have only been in contact with Pasu. Lin Qifeng felt a wave of frustration. Du Feng was truly something else. At that moment, Xiao Kurer suggested, Qifeng, why not let him inspect me? Furious, Lin Qifeng snapped, silence. Do you think I am doing this for you? It is for my own honor and dignity. Xiao Kurer was so terrified that she no longer dared to speak. The gaunt-faced man proclaimed that they should promptly release their captain, or else the 300 million deposit would be rendered worthless. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out, and the gaunt-faced man let out a piercing scream as he collapsed to the ground, his shoulder pierced by Lin Qifeng's bullet. Despite their seething anger, none dared to fire back, for Pasu had been used as a shield by Lin Qifeng. Lin Qifeng coldly whispered into Pasu's ear, Are you truly so foolish? What do you gain by withholding our deposit? Merely 300 million? Consider this. If our transaction proceeds, you stand to gain an additional 12 billion. Upon hearing this staggering figure, Pasu's body trembled. He too desired to seize the remaining funds and did not wish for conflict to erupt. However, his lascivious nature had led him to lose control upon seeing Xiao Kurer, culminating in this dire situation. Yet, as an experienced player in the game, he swiftly assessed the circumstances. Even if he managed to eliminate Lin Qifeng and his companions, the 12 billion would still elude him. It would be wiser to feign cooperation with Lin Qifeng, secure the remaining funds, and turn against him later. Meanwhile, Lin Qifeng had his own schemes in mind. He understood that today's events could not conclude smoothly. Thus, he dangled a bait of immense allure, hoping to appeal to Pasu's greed. If he could somehow access the arms, he would disregard everything else and store them in his extraordinary space. Both Lin Qifeng and Pasu were calculating their moves, each harboring ulterior motives. It remained to be seen who would emerge victorious. Lin Qifeng continued, You are willing to jeopardize such a significant transaction merely to satisfy your desires for a woman. Do you truly believe it is worth it? As he spoke, he slightly loosened his grip on Pasu, permitting him to respond. Once granted a modicum of freedom, Pasu greedily inhaled the air and said, Release me, and I can overlook the past. Our transaction may continue, but what of my injured brother? Lin Qifeng casually replied, He is but a minor lackey. Do you truly care so much? Name your price, and I will cover his medical expenses. Pasu retorted, 10 million, not a cent less. Lin Qifeng chuckled, I expected you to propose an outrageous sum, yet you are rather petty. Only 10 million? That's far too little. How about 20 million? Pasu was taken aback. What was this man thinking? Displaying such ostentation of wealth, did he not fear that once he was free, he would order his men to imprison them all and subject them to torture until they relinquished their fortunes? Du Feng could not help but wipe the cold sweat from his forehead. Moments ago, he had been too preoccupied to do so. Had a shootout ensued, he would have surely met his end. Now, as the tide turned, the sweat dripped into his eyes, prompting him to finally wipe his brow. Lin Qifeng chuckled. I perceive the thoughts swirling in your mind. Are you contemplating the notion of seizing the opportunity to abduct me for ransom? Pasu was taken aback, unable to suppress his astonishment. The very thought he had just entertained was laid bare by Lin, and to claim he was not shocked would be utterly implausible. Lin continued, I advise you to abandon such notions. Do you truly believe that, given my skills and my understanding of your group, I would have no strategies to thwart your intentions? Pasu was increasingly astonished, realizing that Lin was not merely affluent, but possessed significant capability, cunning, and shrewdness. Du Feng seized the moment to declare, Captain Pasu, let me be frank. Lin is not one of us. I am merely an intermediary. Lin is exceptionally formidable. He possesses the gift of mind reading. Every thought and notion that crosses your mind is laid bare before his discerning gaze. Upon hearing the mention of mind reading, Pasu felt a surge of disbelief. He had just contemplated abduction, and Lin articulated it with uncanny precision. Could it truly be that he possessed such an extraordinary ability? Lin Qifeng himself had not anticipated that his playful jest about mind reading with his partner would be divulged by Du Feng at such a moment. Yet, perhaps it was not entirely unfavorable. It might instill a measure of trepidation in Pasu. Thus, Lin addressed Pasu, Are you still hesitant? Do you not fully believe what I say? Pasu nodded and replied, I will think of a random matter, if you accurately discern it. We shall consider all our prior grievances as non-existent, and our transaction will proceed smoothly. Agreed? Du Feng and Xiao Kurer felt a wave of relief wash over them at Pasu's words, for they were steadfast in their belief that Lin Qifeng indeed possessed the ability to read minds. However, Lin was acutely aware that he had no such power. If Pasu were to whimsically ponder any subject, it would be nigh impossible for Lin to guess correctly. Yet, at this juncture, Pasu found himself cornered. Refusal would carry dire consequences. He would undoubtedly regard Lin with disdain, and trouble would surely ensue. jeopardizing any chance of encountering the arms he sought. Nonetheless, Lin Qifeng proved to be an astute observer of human nature. Noticing Pasu's eyes darting back and forth among his subordinates, he surmised the underlying thoughts plaguing Pasu's mind. "You are quite amusing," Lin remarked, concerned that I might indeed read your thoughts. "You divert your attention to one of your subordinates. Yet you remain indecisive about whom to contemplate." Pasu was genuinely astonished, for Lin's words resonated perfectly with his innermost thoughts. He began to entertain a flicker of belief in Lin's mind-reading abilities. In an effort to safeguard his privacy, he had refrained from contemplating his own affairs, grappling with uncertainty about which subordinate to consider, when Lin unveiled his thoughts with remarkable accuracy. At that moment, Pasu was convinced that Lin Qifeng possessed the extraordinary ability to read minds. It was merely that he was unaware that his own watchful eyes had betrayed him. Chapter 22. A Duel with the Old Fox. Upon observing that Pasu did not refute his claims, Dufeng realized that Lin Qifeng's assertions were entirely accurate. Seizing the opportunity, Dufeng hastily remarked, "Captain Pasu, Lin is a person of great integrity and remarkable capability. If our transaction proceeds smoothly, we shall all become good friends. Who knows? One day not only you, Captain Pasu, but even Commander Sucha may find himself in need of Lin's services." Pasu had not previously contemplated this matter, but Dufeng's reminder brought him a sudden clarity. Their organization was not only engaged in arms dealing, but also involved in other illicit enterprises. What was their greatest fear? The most daunting prospect was the treachery of black-on-black dealings, shrouded in the obscurity of ulterior motives. If they could draw Lin Qifeng to their side, they would have no cause for concern regarding such treachery. Lin possessed the ability to discern the true intentions of others. Should their dealings be sincere, all would be well. However, should anyone attempt to play deceitful games, they would strike first. With this thought, a look of unrestrained joy spread across Pasu's face. He even excitedly proclaimed, "Lin, I sincerely apologize. My previous actions were rash, and I beg your forgiveness. Please trust me and grant us another chance. Our transaction will undoubtedly proceed smoothly, and I assure you that our future collaborations will multiply, leading to great prosperity for you as well." Lin Qifeng then released Pasu, comprehending that this fellow sought to exploit his so-called mind-reading abilities to facilitate future dealings. In truth, it mattered little. In 6 days, everything would come to an end. His sole focus was on arms. As long as he could secure them, he would dare to acquiesce to any demands. Seeing Lin Qifeng so unhesitatingly release him only reinforced Pasu's belief in the mind-reading ability. For in that moment, his thoughts had been sincere. He genuinely wished to collaborate with Lin Qifeng. Pasu commanded his subordinates, "Lay down all your weapons. From this moment onward, Lin is our most esteemed guest. Carry the thin monkey away for treatment." His subordinates promptly complied, relinquishing their firearms, and 2 of them escorted the thin monkey away. Pasu respectfully ushered Lin Qifeng and his companions into the estate. Upon entering the grand hall, he said, "Lin, please wait here for a moment while I speak with my elder brother. He should be out to meet you shortly." Lin Qifeng nodded as Pasu departed. It appeared that Pasu held a position of considerable significance and shared a close relationship with Sucha. Xiao Kurer approached Lin Qifeng and remarked, regardless of the outcome, "I must thank you. You have spared me from humiliation." Lin Qifeng was truly disinterested in her words. Once this transaction was concluded, they would be nothing more than strangers. Dufeng remarked to Lin, "Fortunately, you came personally this time. Otherwise, we would be at a loss. If they truly intend to engage in underhanded dealings, we are utterly helpless." Lin Qifeng replied with forced composure, "Let us refrain from such trivialities. Our time is exceedingly limited. Remember, when they arrive, do not discuss anything else. Our primary objective is to expedite the inspection of the arms." Dufeng eagerly concurred. Before long, Pasu returned, accompanied by a burly man who bore a striking resemblance to him, presumably his brother, Sucha. It was indeed a revelation that they were siblings. Lin Qifeng rose to greet them, and Pasu hastily introduced, "Lin, this is my elder brother, our commander, Sucha." Lin Qifeng smiled and nodded, addressing Commander Sucha. "Might we proceed with our transaction before delving into other matters?" Dufeng chimed in, "Commander Sucha, Lin is exceptionally busy. Could we initiate our transaction? We wish to inspect the goods and then proceed with payment." Sucha regarded Lin Qifeng in silence for a moment before inquiring, "Lin, I contemplated 2 matters earlier. What do you believe those matters were?" Lin Qifeng felt a wave of apprehension. His fears had materialized. How could one possibly predict the whimsical thoughts of another? He had been meticulously observing Sucha, wary of potential mind-reading tests. Each micro-expression of Sucha was scrutinized closely by Lin Qifeng. Yet, he remained unsure, compelled to take a gamble. Should he lose, he would swiftly retrieve a handgun from his spatial storage to coerce Sucha into the armory. Thus, Lin Qifeng smiled and said, Commander Sucha, you are not pondering two matters, but rather fixated on one, whether my mind-reading abilities are genuine, and if I have deceived your brother. Sucha's pupils constricted as he laughed heartily. Indeed, Lin, you are formidable. Such true skill. I, Sucha, shall befriend you. Pasu sighed in relief, affirming his judgment had been sound. However, Lin Qifeng grew increasingly cautious, sensing he might not have accurately discerned Sucha's thoughts. If that were the case, Sucha's pupils would not have contracted but rather widened with realization. This cunning Sucha was performing a charade, far more adept than his brother, a true old fox. It was evident he had unraveled Lin's deception, yet feigned ignorance with one intent, to trick Lin into transferring the funds before striking. A cold smile spread across Lin Qifeng's face. If he wished to act, so would Lin. The ultimate victor would reveal themselves in due course. Lin Qifeng then responded, Commander Sucha, you are exceedingly gracious. However, this time my visit was rather rushed, as there are numerous matters awaiting my attention at home. I wonder if we might proceed with the transaction first. May I inspect the goods beforehand? Su Cha waved his hand and said, Mr. Lin, why the haste? After all, this is our inaugural transaction. We should prioritize integrity before trust. Before you verify the arms, I would like to inquire about your intended method of payment. Lin Qifeng was calculating swiftly in his mind, yet he maintained a smile as he replied, Commander Su, to be candid, disbursing such a substantial sum poses a significant challenge for me. If you are amenable to alternative payment terms, I could use items worth 1 billion as a means to settle the remaining 2 billion. What do you think? Su Cha's pupils constricted as he coldly responded, Mr. Lin, your words lack sincerity. You propose to give me 1 billion in goods? What a jest. How do you intend to transport such a quantity out of the country? And what would I do with so many items? Chapter 23, Step by Step to Victory, Best Actor. Du Feng was taken aback by Lin Qifeng's response, momentarily rendered speechless. For if Lin Qifeng truly lacked the funds, it would incite Su Cha's wrath, placing them in grave danger. Xiao Kuer could not help but feel a surge of anxiety once more. Yet Lin Qifeng, unperturbed, stated, Commander Su, you have misunderstood my meaning. The items I refer to are not goods worth 1 billion, but rather a singular item. Su Cha narrowed his eyes and scoffed, Mr. Lin, are you jesting with me? What on earth could be valued at 1 billion? Do you take me for a fool? Lin Qifeng chuckled, Commander Su, do you not engage in the antiquities trade? Su Cha squinted, inquiring, what antiquity? Lin Qifeng replied, a calligraphy piece by the sage of calligraphy. My father once spent 1 billion to acquire it, and it is now estimated to be worth around 3 billion. Yet, I will still value it at 1 billion for you. What do you say? Su Cha scrutinized Lin Qifeng, stating, I am somewhat aware of the Lin family's standing. I believe your words hold truth. However, how can I ascertain that the antiquity you present is genuine and not a counterfeit? Lin Qifeng smiled, Commander Su, you need not worry on that front. I am here solely to inspect the goods. Once I have seen your merchandise, I will promptly hand over the calligraphy for you to authenticate its legitimacy. Once you confirm it is genuine, I will arrange for the collection of the goods. How does that sound? Du Feng, standing nearby, was anxious, making faces yet hesitating to speak. He genuinely worried for Lin Qifeng. Paying first and collecting later seemed a fool's errand. Should they succeed in retrieving the goods, it would truly be a stroke of luck. Having already paid such a substantial deposit was an immense risk, but this proposal escalated the peril. Lin Qifeng feigned ignorance of Du Feng's changing expressions and dismissed them entirely. You think I am at a disadvantage, yet I am the one truly reaping the benefits. For I possess a divine storage space. As long as I glimpse those arms, I can effortlessly absorb them into my celestial domain. Su Cha chuckled and, after a moment of contemplation, remarked, I never anticipated that General Lin would display such sincerity. In that case, I have nothing further to say, and we shall proceed as General Lin suggests. Lin Qifeng smiled and replied, General Su, I hope our collaboration will be delightful. Su Cha laughed heartily, proclaiming, our partnership is bound to be exceedingly enjoyable, and we shall undoubtedly achieve unprecedented success. However, before you verify the arms, I have a small request. May I first admire the masterpiece of the Sage of Calligraphy? I have only heard of it, but have yet to behold it. Du Feng, upon hearing this, felt a surge of anxiety, thinking to himself, General Lin, surely you haven't brought the sage's work with you? If you did, it would truly be disastrous. What if Su Cha were to suddenly turn hostile and seize it? I wouldn't even have a place to weep. No, I wouldn't even have the chance to cry. Lin Qifeng replied with a smile, this modest request poses no issue. However, General Su, I do not possess the original with me at the moment, though I do have a photograph on my phone. If you would like to see it, I can show it to you. Su Cha inquired, when can the original be delivered? I must contact an expert to authenticate it, and if there are delays on your end, it will inevitably affect my shipping schedule. Lin Qifeng reassured him, "Fear not, General Su. There will be no delays from my side as long as there are no issues with the verification of the arms. I will have the original sent over immediately, and I shall leave only after it arrives." "How does that sound?" Su Cha nodded and responded. "With such sincerity from General Lin, I feel a bit embarrassed. Let us proceed as you suggest." Lin Qifeng then asked, "Shall we take a moment to view the photograph of the artifact?" Su Cha replied, "Let us indulge our eyes for a moment." Lin Qifeng retrieved his phone, located the prepared photo, and presented it to Su Cha. Su Cha took the phone and examined it closely, eventually exclaiming, "The work of the Sage of Calligraphy is truly astonishing. A mere 17 characters valued at 2.1 billion. This is truly remarkable." After a thorough inspection, Su Cha returned the phone to Lin Qifeng and said, "Now that we have settled all terms, we need not delay further. Let us proceed to inspect our armory. The collection within is undoubtedly vast. We have all manner of weapons, anything General Lin might desire." Lin Qifeng inwardly sneered, thinking, "With such limited intellect, you dare attempt to outmaneuver me? Soon enough, you shall realize who is truly outsmarting whom." He then said, "Let us not waste any more time. I, too, am eager to broaden my horizons." With that, Lin Qifeng and Su Cha exchanged knowing glances, both bursting into laughter, silently cursing each other as fools. Meanwhile, Du Feng's heart raced with mounting trepidation. He could not fathom how a person as astute as Lin Qifeng could fail to perceive the substantial risk at hand. At this moment, Pasa chuckled, "Brother, how about I lead General Lin to the armory? There's no need for you to go personally." Sucha glanced at his younger brother, feeling a deep sense of unease. He was genuinely concerned about Pasu, for he was too easily deceived and misled. Thus, Sucha smiled and said, "General Lin is our most esteemed guest and a long-term partner in our collaboration. How could I possibly neglect to accompany him personally? That would be exceedingly disrespectful." Lin Qifeng quickly interjected, "Commander Sucha, you are being overly courteous. It suffices to have Captain Pasu accompany us." Sucha chuckled, "General Lin, please do not stand on ceremony with me. We are destined to be close and cooperative partners. I, Sucha, would never be so ungracious as to allow a friend to feel neglected." With that, Lin Qifeng refrained from further objections. As long as he could see the armaments, he was content. Thus, accompanied by Sucha and Pasu, Lin Qifeng and his party made their way to Sucha's armory. Alongside them were 20 armed guards, all of whom vigilantly observed Lin Qifeng and his companions. It seemed that any slight misstep would prompt them to open fire. However, since Lin Qifeng had decided to reveal his extraordinary storage space, whether these guards would have the chance to shoot remained uncertain. Sucha and Pasu halted before a small loft. Sucha proclaimed, "General Lin, this is the entrance to our armory. The armory is located in the basement, so when you enter, please do not be too astonished. The array of products within is exceedingly abundant. I fear you may be reluctant to leave once you have seen it." Chapter 24. To perish together. Beautifying your end as Sucha and his brother entered the armory, Lin Qifeng could not help but be utterly astounded. The underground armory spanned an impressive area of 10,000 square meters. It was brimming with an assortment of armaments, featuring weapons of every type and range. Du Feng stared in disbelief. For him, this was simply too extravagant. Xiao Ku'er felt as though she were in a dream, hardly able to believe the reality before her. Sucha, with a proud smile, inquired, "General Lin, are you satisfied with my inventory?" Lin Qifeng replied, "Commander Sucha, you are indeed a businessman of great stature." Sucha beamed even more, remarking, "With your 1.5 billion, you could only purchase 1/5 of these goods." Pasu chimed in proudly, "This stock is valued at nearly 10 billion. Lin Qifeng responded with a grin, "However, if I intended to take all these goods, Commander Sucha, would you have any objections?" Sucha's expression shifted, and he suddenly laughed. "General Lin, your prowess is indeed remarkable. I have heard of the Lin Group's strength. I just wonder what you intend to use as payment this time. Surely not artifacts?" Lin Qifeng shook his head. "Commander Sucha, do you think I need other artifacts to settle the bill? Is the calligraphy of the Sage of Letters not sufficient to purchase all of this inventory?" Sucha fumed. "General Lin, I initially believed you to be a very astute individual, but it appears you are quite the fool. In this place, on my territory, you dare to provoke me. Do you believe that with just a single word, I could render you without a burial site?" Lin Qifeng remarked nonchalantly, "You see, I am a person who respects others. If you honor me by a foot, I will grant you 3. However, Su Cha, you have left me profoundly disappointed. From the very moment we first met, you have plotted against me. Were you waiting for me to retrieve the writings of the Sage of Books before disposing of me?" Su Cha's expression shifted dramatically, realizing that this was indeed his intention. How could this individual have discerned his thoughts? Did he truly possess the ability to read minds? Yet, if he could truly read minds, Then why had he completely misjudged Su Cha's intentions earlier? Lin Qifeng continued, since you wish for my demise, why should I pay you for these goods? They are now all mine. Furious, Su Cha retorted, Lin, do you even comprehend with whom you are speaking? Do you realize that you are courting death? I could turn you into a beehive in an instant. Do you believe that? Pasu and the 20 guards immediately aimed their weapons at Lin Qifeng. Lin Qifeng chuckled coldly. You think such rabble can contend with me? The only reason I refrained from eliminating you earlier was to avoid revealing my strength before reaching the armory. But now, you are all rendered useless. It matters not if you witness my true capabilities. As Lin Qifeng merely shifted his thoughts, an astonishing scene unfolded, leaving Pasu and Su Cha in utter shock. The guns in the hands of Pasu and the 20 guards had vanished without a trace. They were completely unaware that Lin Qifeng had absorbed their weapons into his divine storage space. Any inanimate object within his sight could be claimed by him. Dufeng and Xiao Ku were utterly dumbfounded, their minds petrified. In terror, Su Cha demanded, who exactly are you? How did you accomplish this? Lin Qifeng sneered. You fool. Did you truly believe you had me at your mercy? The conditions I previously offered were merely to gain access to this armory. Now that I have achieved my objective, there is no need for further pretense. I intend for you all to perish. With another thought, a submachine gun appeared in Lin Qifeng's hand, aimed squarely at Pasu and Su Cha. The scene before them was beyond anything they could comprehend. They were utterly bewildered as to how Lin Qifeng had achieved this feat. Lin Qifeng coldly remarked, I had no intention of acting against you at this moment. But your insatiable greed and your attempts to toy with me have offended my dignity. Thus, I have decided to hasten your demise. Perhaps you should thank me. For compared to your fate in a few days, my actions today are remarkably merciful. Suddenly, Su Cha exclaimed, Lin, let us speak civilly. Do not resort to violence. Do you truly believe you have control of the situation? No, you do not. This armory boasts an entirely new high-tech setup. Upon my entrance, the security system initiated facial recognition and infrared feature identification. Should I be determined deceased within the armory, the security protocol will automatically trigger the armory's destruction sequence. In other words, if you were to kill me here, the entire armory would explode instantaneously, yielding you nothing and sealing your fate alongside mine. Lin Qifeng was momentarily taken aback. He had not anticipated the armory's advanced capabilities. Su Cha continued, Mr. Lin, we are individuals of great ambition. There is absolutely no need for us to perish together over such a trivial matter. It is not worth it for me, and even less so for you. If you are willing to reconcile and cast aside past grievances, I, Su Cha, can vow that we could collaborate closely, undoubtedly dominating the world, where fortunes abound and luxuries await us. To demonstrate my sincerity, I shall only require a mere 300 million as a deposit for the 15 billion worth of arms. What say you? Lin Qifeng replied with a smile. Su Cha, had you adopted this stance earlier, we would not have found ourselves in such an unpleasant predicament. Su Cha chuckled. So, does this mean Mr. Lin agrees to a close collaboration? Lin Qifeng shook his head, stating, it is too late. You have squandered too much of my time, and time is of the essence for me. Therefore, your late proposal cannot save your life. Enraged, Su Cha retorted, Mr. Lin, given my overt sincerity, do you truly wish for us to perish together? Lin Qifeng sneered. I have labeled you a self-righteous fool. You may still harbor some disbelief. Allow me to show you whether your notion of mutual destruction can be realized. Imbecile. Bang. Lin Qifeng fired a shot, obliterating Pasu's head. Su Cha watched in horror as his younger brother was slain before him, driving him into a frenzy as he roared, You bastard. I shall ensure we perish together today. Avenging my brother. Chapter 25, Free Stockpile of Billions. Yet Lin Qifeng merely gazed at him coldly, as though observing a corpse. Immediately, Su Cha's twisted, fierce visage became rigid. He could scarcely comprehend the horror unfolding before him. It was utterly terrifying. In that moment, he genuinely believed he was dreaming, for his armory had been completely emptied. The once brimming stockpile of arms had vanished into thin air before his eyes. Lin Qifeng sneered, Your armory's security protocols are quite advanced. I wonder if they serve any purpose now? Do you still intend to share my fate? Su Cha collapsed to his knees, pleading, Mr. Lin, with your capabilities, why must you engage in conflict with someone so insignificant? I beg you spare me. Consider me as inconsequential as a mere puff of air. Lin Qifeng's expression suddenly turned cold and unyielding. All present here must perish, including Xiao Ku, Dufeng, and the others. For they too had witnessed things they ought not to have seen. Lin Qifeng fired his weapon, and the 20 guards of Sucha fell lifeless in an instant. Suddenly, Xiao Ku shouted a warning and threw herself onto Lin Qifeng, taking a sharp blade to her left shoulder. It turned out that Such's previous act of kneeling and pleading was merely a ruse to catch Lin Qifeng off guard for a surprise attack, as he concealed another short knife on his calf. When Lin Qifeng eliminated his subordinates, Such seized the opportunity and drew his dagger, aiming to strike Lin Qifeng. However, Lin Qifeng had never let his guard down. He observed Such's every move. Even without Xiao Kuer's intervention, Such would have been unable to harm him. In fact, Xiao Kuer's timely action inadvertently prevented Lin Qifeng from shooting Such immediately. Nevertheless, Lin Qifeng still managed to obliterate Such's head in the first instance. Xiao Kuer may not have realized that her brave act saved both her own life and that of her uncle. Though cold and ruthless, Lin Qifeng adhered to his principles. He could not bring himself to kill Xiao Kuer right after she had just rescued him, as it contradicted his moral code. Looking at the wound on her shoulder, he advised her to endure the pain, stating that the blade could not be removed just yet. There must be a first aid kit nearby, and they would retrieve it before extracting the knife. Supporting the injured Xiao Kuer, he guided the dazed Du Feng and the others out of the armory. Outside, they commenced their asymmetrical slaughter, disarming anyone they encountered before executing them. Upon reaching Such's lair, they indeed found a first aid kit and treated Xiao Kuer's shoulder injury. Lin Qifeng remarked that the occupants of the place were nearly all dead. If they truly coveted wealth, all of Such's riches would belong to them. They could take as much as they could find. Du Feng's face lit up with ecstasy, for Such possessed assets amounting to hundreds of billions, now ripe for the taking. Yet, Lin Qifeng added a word of caution. If he were in their position, he would gather plenty of food and conceal it in the armory for a week. With that, he turned to leave, time pressing upon him and numerous tasks awaiting his attention. Every second was a precious commodity he could not afford to waste. Xiao Kuer hurriedly called out, asking if she could accompany him. Lin Qifeng did not pause. He simply replied that this time it was not possible. With that, his figure vanished from sight. A sense of desolation washed over Xiao Kuer. Had her connection with him truly come to an end? Yet soon, a spark of hope reignited within her. His words, "Not this time," hinted that perhaps the next opportunity would present itself. In truth, Lin Qifeng struggled to forgive Xiao Kuer in his heart. Despite her transformation upon this rebirth, she might still tread a path entirely different from the last. However, Lin Qifeng still found it difficult to truly forgive her. At most, he regarded her as merely a passerby. By employing a straightforward and forceful approach to resolve the issue this time, he saved a considerable amount of time. Not only did he catch the earliest flight, but he also returned home by 8 in the morning. The little one was still ensconced in slumber, undoubtedly having stayed up late watching cartoons the previous night. Lin Qifeng noticed that Sister Yun was diligently working alongside Xiao Di and Jing Jing. His partner proved to be remarkably reliable, instilling a sense of reassurance within him. Seeing Lin Qifeng, Sister Yun, slightly embarrassed, remarked, "Qifeng, you're back. In fact, I was just about to call you if you hadn't returned." Lin Qifeng, intrigued, inquired, "What is the matter, Sister Yun?" She hesitated before responding. "Well, there is indeed something. My sister called me last night to say that her doctoral thesis defense did not pass, and she might have to delay her graduation. She is quite overwhelmed. And I'm worried about her. I wanted to go see her, but I can't leave here." Suddenly, Lin Qifeng recalled Sister Yun mentioning her sister before the cataclysm. Her sister had gone missing after failing her doctoral thesis defense, and they had not been in contact since the onset of the apocalypse. It seemed her sister had been studying biology. Perhaps he could procure a female PhD for research on those fire-related malevolent spirits. Hence, Lin Qifeng said, "Sister Yun, please give me your sister's contact information. I will go fetch her to meet you." Sister Yun nodded with delight. Lin Qifeng then gathered the food that Yu Jia had sent over and instructed Yu Man to place all the delivered goods in the workshop. If the workshop was insufficient, it was acceptable to leave them outside. He would attend to it when he had the time. Lastly, he assigned the safety team to commence work on the basement project. Afterward, Lin Qifeng set off in his car and dialed Sister Yun's sister, Xiao Yu's, phone number. "Hello, who is this?" As soon as the call connected, Lin Qifeng heard the voice of a young woman, lacking energy, yet still melodious. "I am your brother-in-law. Your sister is currently too busy to leave, so I am driving to pick you up to meet her. You are my brother-in-law." The voice on the other end was clearly taken aback. "Why so surprised? Is it so unusual for your sister to have a man in her life?" "But my sister has never mentioned having a boyfriend." Lin Qifeng couldn't help but tease. "Your sister told me that you have quite the jealous streak. Since childhood, you would snatch whatever she had, so she probably feared you might take me away, which is why she kept my existence a secret from you. My sister tells you everything? That was such a trivial matter. I've long stopped coveting my sister's things. That is hard to say. Once you meet your handsome and wealthy brother-in-law, who knows, those childhood feelings might resurface." Chapter 26. Hoarding several female doctorates in the apocalypse of malevolent spirits. Lin Qifeng was truly not jesting about his dear sister-in-law. If his previous judgment had been correct, this sister-in-law must have been on the brink of despair, unable to graduate, and perhaps even contemplated suicide. Thus, he deliberately teased her to pique her interest in meeting him. As long as she did not refuse his invitation, he could then take her to seek out Sister Yun, hoarding this exceptional yet troubled doctorate who, despite failing to graduate, maintained exemplary character and intellect. Xiao Yu, somewhat incensed, retorted, "Is this how you conduct yourself as my brother-in-law? We haven't even met, and on our first phone call, you speak to me in such a manner. Are you a scoundrel?" Lin Qifeng chuckled. "Have you discerned that my character is particularly despicable? Not just despicable, but perhaps to the utmost limit. In that case, when I pick you up, do convey to your sister that she should promptly sever ties with me. For I am indeed too wretched. You needn't come for me. I shall not meet you, nor will I see my sister. I have my own matters to attend to." With a sigh, Lin Qifeng realized his sister-in-law was genuinely contemplating suicide. Under normal circumstances, one would wish to meet their sister upon learning she had taken up with such a vile partner, urging her to break off the relationship. "Xiao Yu," Lin Qifeng said with a smile, "though we have yet to meet, your brother-in-law knows you quite well. This latest failure in your doctoral defense must have wounded you deeply. What does that concern you? It shouldn't, ordinarily, but as your brother-in-law, it does concern me. You are contemplating suicide, are you not? Have you considered how heartbroken your sister would be?" Xiao Yu fell silent. Lin Qifeng's conviction grew stronger. This sister-in-law was indeed contemplating such drastic measures. "Xiao Yu, your sister has spoken to me about your aspirations, how you wish to work in the world's finest biological laboratories and achieve remarkable research breakthroughs. Is that not so? But that is merely a dream, one that can never be realized. With no opportunity to graduate, what right do I have to work in the world's best biological laboratories? Why such agitation? Is graduation the sole pathway to those esteemed laboratories? Do you possess the world's finest biological laboratory?" "Surprisingly, you are correct. I do possess the world's finest biological laboratory." "Humph. Do you doubt your brother-in-law's words? Thinking I am deceiving you?" "Humph. It seems I must reveal my true identity. I am Lin Qifeng, the president of the Lin Corporation. You are that infamous, extravagantly wasteful Lin Qifeng circulating online." Lin Qifeng was at a loss for words. He truly had no time to peruse the internet. Who had bestowed such a moniker upon him? How could he possibly be labeled as extravagantly wasteful? "The Lin Group is currently undergoing a transformation. My brother-in-law, I intend to invest 30 billion to establish a world-class biological laboratory and would like to appoint you as its director. What do you think? Is this for real? Why would I deceive you? When do you plan to commence construction? As long as you are willing to join, preparations can begin immediately. Hurry over, and we can discuss the laboratory's preparations in person." Ending the call, Lin Qifeng arrived at Xiao Yu's university 20 minutes later, where he was greeted by her. Xiao Yu bore a striking resemblance to her sister Yun, albeit with glasses that lent her an air of quiet sophistication. Beside her stood a charmingly bespectacled young woman, who, in contrast to Xiao Yu, possessed a hint of allure. After exchanging pleasantries, Xiao Yu introduced her companion, saying, "This is my classmate and best friend, Linya. She shares my plight, having failed her thesis defense twice. May I include her in our laboratory's preparatory work?" Lin Qifeng replied with a smile, "Of course. That poses no issue whatsoever. You may even spread the word and begin recruiting. Accept as many willing applicants as you wish, with salaries at the highest level." Linya, taken aback, asked, "Is that true? What does the highest salary entail?" Lin Qifeng responded, "How does an annual salary of 6 million sound?" Both Xiao Yu and Linya gaped in astonishment, their mouths agape as if they could fit an egg inside, utterly incredulous. Xiao Yu grasped Lin Qifeng's arm, shaking it as she implored, "Brother-in-law, are you truly serious? My disbelief is growing. It feels as though I am trapped in a dream. Just when I was sinking into despair, you descended like an angel from above, illuminating my path and helping me realize dreams far beyond my aspirations." Lin Qifeng chuckled. "You can start recruiting now, not limited to your biology majors. We require PhDs from other engineering and science disciplines as well, all with the same salary." Linya chimed in, "Brother-in-law, is that true? Our university has plenty of PhDs. Will the first month's payroll leave you bankrupt?" Lin Qifeng thought to himself, "Bankrupt? What a jest. After I pay you your first month's salary, you will not even want it. Believe me, come that time, you would rather accept a frozen potato than take your own wages." He smiled and assured them, "You need not worry. The Lin Group possesses formidable financial strength." As he spoke, Lin Qifeng produced a black gold card from his pocket and handed it to Xiao Yu. "This card contains a cash limit of 50 million. Begin procuring various laboratory instruments and equipment right away, and have everything sent to a specific address, which I will send to your phone shortly." At this moment, Xiao Yu was fully convinced that Lin Qifeng was indeed serious and not jesting with her. Overwhelmed with excitement, she exclaimed, "Brother-in-law, you are truly magnificent. However, I cannot manage this alone. May I enlist Lin Ya's help in recruitment while I handle the procurement? Lin Ya looked at Lin Qifeng, her eyes sparkling with hopeful anticipation. Lin Qifeng smiled and said, there is absolutely no problem. Lin Ya is your close friend, which makes her my sister as well. Moreover, we share the same surname. Lin Ya and Xiao Yu joyfully clasped hands and jumped in delight, as Lin Qifeng's words whisked them from the depths of despair to the pinnacle of hope, restoring the innocence they had long lost. Once their excitement had subsided, Lin Qifeng solemnly instructed them, our time is exceedingly precious. We cannot afford to waste a single moment. You must commence work immediately, particularly with the procurement of equipment, which must be initiated without delay. Do you understand? Do not haggle over prices. And do not fret about spending more. If funds are insufficient, simply inform me. Chapter 27. The increasingly devious elderly Xiao Yu and Lin Ya gazed at Lin Qifeng, finally comprehending what it meant to be extraordinarily wealthy. Little did they realize that all the funds needed to be expended swiftly, for in 6 days, they would be rendered worthless. Excluding today, only 5 days remained before the apocalypse would descend. Time was of the essence. Lin Qifeng felt an overwhelming urgency. The more supplies he stockpiled, the more inadequate he felt. After briefing Xiao Yu and Lin Ya, Lin Qifeng called Sister Yun to reassure her about his sister before heading to the location of the supplies. There, only Yuman awaited him, and he genuinely worried that she would struggle alone. Driving hastily to the destination, Lin Qifeng discovered that trouble had indeed struck at the construction site. Somehow, word had leaked, and dozens of elderly individuals had encircled the premises, seemingly intent on plundering the materials. Yuman was valiantly directing the delivery workers in an effort to prevent their entry, but some had already begun to dismantle the site as fencing, preparing to force their way in. Lin Qifeng felt a profound sense of helplessness. These elderly individuals, emboldened by their age, exhibited surprising agility while pilfering, yet when confronted, they would feign illness at the slightest touch, claiming high blood pressure or heart issues. It was utterly disgraceful. The older they became, the more unscrupulous they appeared. Lin Qifeng parked the car and began to honk the horn vigorously, successfully capturing the attention of all the elderly individuals. Exiting the vehicle with a smile, he approached them, aware that dealing with these seniors required a different strategy. One must ensnare them into believing they were gaining a significant advantage, while in reality, they would suffer a considerable loss. With a grin, Lin Qifeng declared loudly, "Dear uncles and aunts, the goods within are merely daily necessities. How much can each of you take? Even if you were to take a large quantity, it would hardly be worth much, don't you think?" The elderly individuals stared at Lin Qifeng, rendered momentarily speechless. One elderly woman finally spoke up. "Who are you? What business is this of yours? Young man, I advise you not to meddle in affairs that do not concern you." Her words prompted a chorus of agreement from the other elderly individuals. "Young people, I advise you to be a bit more discerning. Do not assume that your acts of valor are entirely altruistic. Do you believe I would not lie down right now? Let me tell you, my retirement will rely on you. Young man, consider the number of people present. Calculate carefully how much you can spare from your wallet. Is it sufficient to support us in our old age? If your wallet is not sufficiently plump, I suggest you refrain from meddling in affairs that do not concern you. I have consumed more salt than you have rice, and you wish to show off in front of me? I urge you to abandon those trivial thoughts before I enlighten you on the harsh realities of society. To speak frankly, my pension barely covers my expenses each month. What do you propose? Do you intend to send me money regularly? If you are willing, I could accompany you home and rest there for a few years. Let us see if you would still meddle in others' affairs." Lin Qifeng listened to the threats and warnings from these elderly individuals, feeling utterly speechless. Yet, he remained remarkably patient and replied with a smile, "Dear uncles and aunties, you have truly misunderstood my intentions. I am not trying to meddle. This construction site is mine, and all the materials within belong to me." An elderly man scoffed, "Young man, it seems you are indeed a wealthy individual. Since you possess such riches, why not allow us to take a few items? For you, it would be a mere trifle." Other seniors echoed their shameless demands. "Indeed, look at all the items inside. If we were to take just a few, it would be like removing a few stones from a mountain, hardly worth a thought. Young man, one must be magnanimous. Do not be so stingy, we one take much. You've stated it yourself, we cannot take much of value, so there is no need for you to fret. Yes. Young man, surely you do not merely speak charmingly. If we were to enter and take items, would you truly not be reluctant? You must understand the importance of respecting the elderly and caring for the young. Do not deceive us. Moreover, we are your uncles and aunties. Allow us entry. Young man, let us in. We will take only a few items each day. We are not greedy, and we will remember your kindness." Spreading the word that you are a truly good person, this group of elderly individuals has completely abandoned any sense of shame or boundaries. If they are persistently obstructed, they might even lie at your door, halting all logistics. That would be a genuine loss for Lin Qifeng. Lin Qifeng chuckled. Uncles and aunties, you have misunderstood me. What I meant is that taking a few items is not worth your trouble. It would be better to simply collect money directly from me. An elderly man incredulously inquired. Young man, are you truly this benevolent? Lin Qifeng replied with a smile. Uncles and aunties, at your age, would I need to deceive you? The elderly individuals gazed intently at Lin Qifeng, their hearts still filled with skepticism. Could such a fortunate opportunity truly exist? How much would he offer them? Lin Qifeng earnestly addressed the gathering of uncles and aunts, urging them to listen attentively. From now on, if you come here daily to help maintain order, ensuring that no one enters freely to take things, and allowing our trucks to enter and exit the site smoothly, each of you will receive a payment of 1,000 yuan per day. An elderly man, visibly excited, inquired, Is what you say true? Are you not trying to deceive us? Lin Qifeng replied with utmost seriousness. Do I have any reason to deceive you? My construction site is right here, and my goods are here as well. Would I dare to mislead you? An elderly woman interjected. What you say does hold some merit, but we must first receive half of the payment to believe you. Lin Qifeng smiled and said, Absolutely no problem. Please line up, uncles and aunts, and prepare your phones. I will begin transferring half of the payment to each of you right now. Internally, Lin Qifeng scoffed, thinking, You old folks should just wait for the 7th day when this construction site meets its demise alongside you. People like you, who become increasingly shameless with age, are merely a waste of resources in this world. You think you are here to collect money, but what you truly receive is merely a ticket to the underworld. Instantly, a throng of elderly men and women began to queue for their payments, restoring order and tranquility to the construction site. Chapter 28. The arrival of a deadly rival in the apocalypse. Lin Qifeng swiftly resolved the chaos at the construction site, and when calm returned, leaving only him and Yu Man, he stored all the goods in his extraordinary storage space. This time, Lin Qifeng intentionally devised a scheme, waiting for Yu Man to let her attention wane just slightly before he concealed the goods. Yu Man appeared both helpless and speechless. The variety of goods was incredibly rich, encompassing all manner of essential supplies for daily living, sufficient to last for several centuries. Yu Man then said, By the way, there is something of great importance that I need to tell you. Lin Qifeng, intrigued, asked, What is this particularly important matter? Yu Man explained, The auction preparations are proceeding very smoothly and will take place as scheduled. However, Lu Cheng, the president of Xiangfeng Group, contacted me. He is extremely interested in the genuine work of the book Sage and wishes to acquire it before the auction. He is willing to negotiate terms with us. I cannot make this decision alone and must consult you. Upon hearing that name, Lin Qifeng felt an unsettling turmoil within. Lu Cheng was his greatest adversary in this apocalypse. Aside from the fire element malevolent spirits, they had led their respective factions in a struggle for resources for nearly a decade, culminating in Lin Qifeng personally vanquishing Lu Cheng. What was most detestable was that their initial conflict had arisen from Lu Cheng's desire to take Yunjia, an affront Lin Qifeng could never tolerate. Lin Qifeng is a man of unwavering principles, holding two things sacred that others must never touch: his family, now reduced to the little one, and his beloved. It is a foregone conclusion that Lu Cheng's attempt to seize his beloved would render them eternal adversaries. Though Lin Qifeng had slain Lu Cheng a decade prior, he did not recall him upon his rebirth. However, upon hearing Yu Man mention his name, a torrent of memories surged forth. Since it was fated for them to be enemies, and their premature encounter due to his rebirth demanded some sparks and stories, it would be a disservice to his resurrection to let this opportunity slip away. In truth, Lin Qifeng knew little about Lu Cheng before the apocalypse, prompting him to inquire about the nature of his company. Yu Man replied that they produced oxygen generation and air purification equipment. Lin Qifeng's eyes lit up at this revelation, as it had been an aspect he had previously overlooked. In the chaotic aftermath of the world's end, many sought refuge in basements or underground passages, where the air was often foul and breathing difficult. Numerous lives had been lost to suffocation. If he could acquire a substantial quantity of such equipment, it would greatly benefit him. Thus, Lin Qifeng devised a perfect plan and instructed Yu Man to contact Lu Cheng, expressing his desire to meet and stating that he would bring the authentic work of the Sage of Calligraphy. Yu Man nodded and retrieved her phone, dialing a number. Hello. Yu Zong. May I inquire if there are any updates regarding the matter I requested? Lu Zong. I have conveyed your request to our Lin Zong, who is willing to meet with you, albeit his schedule is quite tight. Perhaps we could arrange a suitable location for your meeting? He will bring the authentic work of the Sage of Calligraphy, allowing for a direct discussion. Of course, my schedule is entirely flexible and I can meet at any time. As for the venue, I defer to your arrangement. How about Lu Zong makes his way to Lin Group now? That poses no problem at all. I will set aside all my current affairs and head to Lin Group. I should arrive in approximately 2 hours. Let us not miss each other. With the details of the meeting established, the call concluded. Yu Man turned to Lin Qifeng and asked whether she should accompany him to the group or remain behind to keep watch. Lin Qifeng replied, "You stay here and continue to monitor. If any elderly individuals create a disturbance, handle it as I instructed before, without concern for expenses." Yu Man nodded in agreement. Lin Qifeng then drove away, returning to Lin Group. In truth, he had not visited the group for several days, having nearly given up on it entirely. Upon re-entering his office, a wave of nostalgia washed over him, as the decor still bore the signature style left by his father. If possible, he truly wished to preserve it. However, he found himself unable to secure such immovable property. Thus, a profound sense of unease enveloped him. At that moment, a beautiful stranger entered, informing Lin Qifeng that Lu Cheng had arrived. It turned out that this enchanting young woman was Ying, assigned by Yu Man to undertake the role of Lin Qifeng's secretary, hence her presence to notify him. Lin Qifeng smiled and nodded, inviting Lu Cheng in. Shortly thereafter, Lu Cheng entered, accompanied by a seductive matron, who was also a familiar face to Lin Qifeng and, undoubtedly, his adversary. Her name was Gu Li, the very woman who had consistently aided Lu Cheng in devising strategies against him during the apocalypse. Before eliminating Lu Cheng, Lin Qifeng had first dealt with her. Lin Qifeng noted the slight upturn of their lips, revealing a peculiar smile that he could not quite articulate. The early encounter with an old nemesis in the apocalypse presented a splendid opportunity, one he would not squander. This time, he was determined to preemptively resolve the impending troubles. Moreover, both Lu Cheng and Gu Li had awakened supernatural abilities in the apocalypse. Lu Cheng could manipulate fire, while Gu Li possessed the power of telekinesis for offensive maneuvers. They were formidable opponents, and eliminating them beforehand would undoubtedly yield benefits without drawbacks. Stepping forward, Lin Qifeng extended his right hand with a smile, welcoming General Lu. Expressing that it was a rare fortune to meet the esteemed Lu in person. Lu Cheng, lacking the advantage of reincarnation, was oblivious to the future events awaiting him, allowing Lin Qifeng to plot against him while he misinterpreted this as a warm reception. Lu Cheng hurriedly grasped Lin Qifeng's hand, exclaiming that Lin was being overly gracious. For it was Lin who was renowned. His Xiangfeng group paled in comparison to the Lin group, leaving him feeling quite embarrassed. Ying served tea and snacks as Lin Qifeng invited Lu Cheng and Gu Li to take a seat. Lin Qifeng then candidly inquired, dismissing any further pleasantries, about the exchange for the priceless relic of the Sage of Books. He warned that if Lu Cheng's proposed conditions did not pique his interest, it was quite possible that Lu Cheng's visit would prove fruitless. Chapter 29. Hoarding 3 billion worth of goods without payment. Upon hearing Lin Qifeng's words, Lu Cheng chuckled heartily. Declaring that he was resolute in acquiring the Sage of Books' true relic, he encouraged Lin Qifeng to express his desires, assuring him that anything within his capabilities was open for negotiation. Gu Li, with a charming smile, added that Lu Cheng had come with the utmost sincerity this time. Lin Qifeng glanced at Gu Li, smiling as he remarked that he believed in Lu Cheng's sincerity. However, sincerity alone does not guarantee a successful transaction, does it? Gu Li responded with a smile, acknowledging Lin Qifeng's wisdom, and invited him to state his conditions, assuring him that they would demonstrate not only their sincerity, but also their capacity to finalize a deal. Lin Qifeng inquired of General Lu, in truth, I have not taken over the Lin Group for long. My understanding of your corporation is rather limited. Might I ask what your primary business entails? Lu Cheng glanced at Gu Li, who responded, Our group specializes in oxygen production equipment, encompassing a full range of sizes, from large to small. We also offer an extensive array of air purification devices. Lin Qifeng nodded and asked, How much inventory does your group currently possess? What is its estimated total value? Gu Li replied, We currently hold more than 5 billion in inventory. Lin Qifeng smiled, If I am not mistaken, the figure you mentioned is likely calculated based on retail market prices, correct? Gu Li chuckled, Indeed, General Lin is truly astute, even when calculated at our factory prices. The value of those devices exceeds 3 billion. Lin Qifeng nodded. Lu Cheng then asked, Is it possible that General Lin has an interest in our equipment? I have heard that you are primarily focused on essential goods. Lu Cheng quickly clarified, Of course, if General Lin is genuinely interested in our equipment, I would be more than willing. My previous comment was merely out of curiosity. Lin Qifeng replied with a smile, I am indeed quite interested in your equipment. I wonder if General Lu would be willing to consider an exchange? Lu Cheng promptly responded, As long as General Lin is willing, I have no objections. However, Gu Li interjected, General Lin, we are more than willing to meet your conditions, but we also have a request. Lu Cheng nodded in agreement. Gu Li continued, Our General Lu has a profound admiration for the authentic work of Shuxing and would like to see it first. I hope General Lin can grant him this favor. Lin Qifeng couldn't help but smirk inwardly, pondering how Lu Cheng's unexpected passion could hinder his potential to become a titan in this changing world. It was a pity he would never have the chance to find out. Lin Qifeng replied, "This is a minor matter. How could I possibly refuse? I happen to have the original work of Shushing on me, and I shall present it to General Lu now." In fact, Lin Qifeng had carried the original piece with him since his previous meeting with Su Cha, cleverly concealed so that it had gone undetected by Pasu. He removed his coat and tore open the inner lining at the sleeve, extracting a piece of antiquated paper. Upon unfolding it, it revealed the authentic work of Shushing. Lu Cheng gazed in dismay at how carelessly Lin Qifeng preserved such a priceless artifact, his brow furrowing in concern. "General Lin, I must express my astonishment. How can you store something of such immense value in this manner? It is truly a waste, an utter waste." Lin Qifeng feigned a smile. "Is this not a more convenient way to carry it? Moreover, it is precisely safer this way, is it not?" Lu Cheng merely gazed at the authentic work of the sage of calligraphy, refraining from uttering a word as he sought to ascertain its genuineness. Should Lin Qifeng have presented him with a counterfeit, the loss would be considerable. Lu Cheng possessed a profound understanding of cultural relics, particularly the genuine works of the sage of calligraphy, which he had cherished and studied for over a decade, mastering every characteristic of the true pieces. Now, as he meticulously compared the artifact before him to his extensive knowledge, he found no discrepancies, confirming its authenticity. Feeling a deep sense of concern, Lu Cheng remarked, "Mr. Lin, are you aware that your method of preservation exposes this masterpiece to direct contact with air, accelerating its oxidation? This could diminish its lifespan by several years." Lin Qifeng, taken aback by this revelation, realized Lu Cheng was indeed an expert, his admiration for the genuine work stemming from genuine passion. However, Lin Qifeng was not one to dwell on such matters. He took the authentic piece from Lu Cheng's sight and, smiling, inquired, having observed it for so long, "Can you affirm its authenticity?" Lu Cheng nodded in agreement, confirming that it was indeed genuine. "Mr. Lin, let us discuss the specifics of our transaction. I believe that the true work of the sage of calligraphy should no longer remain in your possession, as it constitutes a significant disservice to its legacy." Lin Qifeng, dismissive of Lu Cheng's concerns, feigned ignorance. He replied, "I require you to exchange all of your Group S oxygen production and air purification equipment for this piece. However, before we proceed with the exchange, I must first inspect your equipment to verify its existence as you claim." Guli interjected with a smile, "Mr. Lin, even at our factory prices, those devices amount to 3.6 billion. The auction price for this genuine work was only 2.1 billion. Doesn't your proposal seem rather excessive?" Lin Qifeng, unfazed, stated, "If you are unwilling, then so be it. In truth, your equipment holds little significance for me, and my interest is limited. However, given your evident sincerity and profound admiration for the sage of calligraphy's work, I made this request. If you believe you are at a disadvantage and I am gaining too much, then we may as well cancel this transaction." Lu Cheng, hastily, implored, "Mr. Lin, please do not lose your temper. We can negotiate amicably." Lin Qifeng, with a hint of disdain, replied, "Do not assume that you are at a disadvantage while I prosper. Remember, the 2.1 billion price was merely the auction figure at the time. It could fetch at least 3 billion now. Thus, there is no question of who gains and who loses. Since you lack sincerity, there is no need to continue this discussion." Guli quickly added, "Mr. Lin, we are all business people. Haggling is entirely normal, and you need not take offense." Chapter 30, Toying with Old Rivals. Lin Qifeng, with a hint of displeasure, remarked, "I am acutely aware that we are both merchants, and it is entirely customary for us to engage in negotiations. However, I must convey to you both that our Lin Group is currently undergoing a pivotal transformation. I have an abundance of matters demanding my attention, leaving me little time for haggling. Moreover, I am confident that there are many who cherish the authentic works of the sage of calligraphy. Should I decide to auction them, the potential profits would far exceed any trivial negotiations with the two of you. Thus, this is a straightforward transaction. If you can agree, we shall continue our discussions. If not, I kindly ask you to take your leave." Lu Cheng gritted his teeth and replied, "Since you, President Lin, have stated it so plainly, and I am indeed fond of the sage's true works, let us solidify this deal. When shall we proceed to draft the agreement?" Lin Qifeng waved his hand dismissively. "There is no rush regarding the contract. You have examined the sage's authentic pieces, but do you have sufficient inventory? I have yet to see it myself." Lu Cheng inquired. "President Lin, you may inspect the goods at your convenience. When would you like to go?" "I am at your disposal to accompany you for the inspection," Lin Qifeng responded. "As I mentioned, my time is exceedingly limited. Perhaps we should depart immediately." Lu Cheng pondered for a moment and nodded in agreement. Thus, Lin Qifeng, Lu Cheng, and Guli set off together. By now, it was around 5 p.m., and upon arrival, it was evident that Xiangfeng Group had concluded its workday, and the warehouse would likely be deserted. Lin Qifeng's plan was to swiftly gather all the equipment into his storage space and subsequently deal with Lu Cheng and Gu Li. With merely 5 days remaining until the impending apocalypse, he felt indifferent to the outcome. Following Lu Cheng's vehicle, Lin Qifeng drove for approximately 40 minutes until they reached the outskirts, where they halted outside a sprawling industrial complex. This was the production base of Xiangfeng Group, known for its stringent management protocols, necessitating even Lu Cheng to undergo a security check. After verifying Lu Cheng's identity, the security personnel granted them access, and Lin Qifeng followed Lu Cheng to a massive warehouse. After parking, Lu Cheng cheerfully introduced, "President Lin, this is our warehouse, where we store all our products. Managed with utmost rigor. Apart from receiving and dispatching goods, access is strictly prohibited." Lin Qifeng smiled and inquired, "Might I have the opportunity to explore the inventory within the warehouse?" Lu Cheng replied with a grin, "Absolutely. I will contact the warehouse manager right away." Soon, the warehouse manager arrived with a key, unlocking the storeroom. Lin Qifeng observed numerous well-packaged devices. Upon closer inspection, he noted the absence of surveillance cameras inside the warehouse. They were all installed outside. Lin Qifeng silently rejoiced, recognizing this as yet another fortuitous development. Lu Cheng asked, "President Lin, do you wish to conduct a detailed count of the equipment here?" Lin Qifeng chuckled, "That won't be necessary, but there is one thing I must state up front. We can proceed to sign the agreement. 7 days from now, I will have my logistics company come to collect the goods. During this 7-day period, no one is permitted to open the warehouse doors. My team will verify the surveillance footage. And if it is discovered that the doors have been opened or if there are any gaps in the monitoring, it will be considered a breach of contract." Lu Cheng quickly turned to his warehouse manager and inquired, "Did you hear what Mr. Lin said? This batch of equipment was ordered by him. We must adhere to Mr. Lin's instructions. During these 7 days, absolutely no one is allowed to open the warehouse doors." The warehouse manager nodded vigorously. Lu Cheng then accompanied Lin Qifeng out of the warehouse. Just as the warehouse manager was about to close the main door, Lin Qifeng, with a mere thought, summoned all the equipment into his divine storage space. A cold smile crept across Lin Qifeng's face as he thought, "I will take all this equipment, and later, I shall find an opportune moment to claim your lives as well." Lu Cheng remarked, "Mr. Lin, you've seen our equipment. We will certainly comply with your requests. If there are no further instructions, shall we proceed to sign the agreement?" Lin Qifeng replied with a smile, "That is absolutely no problem. Let us return to the city, and we can sign the agreement tonight. What do you think?" Lu Cheng nodded in agreement, saying, "Mr. Lin, that arrangement is perfect." For Lu Cheng, as long as the agreement could be signed promptly, he was willing to comply with any demands. He was deeply concerned that someone might purchase the authentic work of the book's sage. In his heart, he felt quite pleased, secretly cursing Lin Qifeng as a fool destined to be taken advantage of. Calculating at factory prices, the equipment indeed had a maximum value exceeding 3 billion. Yet at cost price, it would not exceed 1.5 billion. Thus, Lu Cheng believed he had struck an incredible deal. His heart brimmed with contempt for Lin Qifeng, thinking, "A wealthy scion attempting to outsmart me? How naive." They each drove back to the city, with Lin Qifeng leading the way. However, instead of taking the highway, he opted for the provincial road. Gu Li immediately called to inquire about the situation, asking why they were not using the highway. Lin Qifeng explained, "It's rather late, and the vehicles on the highway are moving too quickly. I've been quite fatigued lately, and I worry about potential accidents. Thus, the provincial road seems safer." Lu Cheng had no choice but to follow him onto the provincial road. They arrived at a secluded stretch, where Lin Qifeng suddenly pulled over to the side of the road. Lu Cheng and Gu Li, unsure of what was happening, also pulled over. Lin Qifeng exited his vehicle and knocked on Lu Cheng's window. Lu Cheng unlocked the door, and Lin Qifeng opened the rear hatch and sat inside. He then remarked, "It seems my car has encountered an issue." Lu Cheng responded, "Mr. Lin, please ride with me back to the city, and we can have a tow truck take your car to the repair shop tomorrow." Gu Li added, "It appears that we have no other option, Mr. Lin. What do you think?" Lin Qifeng smiled and said, "Thank you, Director Lu. However, I must convey something of great importance. I have had a sudden change of heart and wish to cancel our transaction, as I find that I do not require such an abundance of your equipment." Lu Cheng was taken aback and, with heightened emotion, exclaimed, "How can you so casually renege on our agreement, General Lin? As businessmen and leaders of substantial enterprises, we must place great emphasis on integrity in our words, must we not? If the events of today were to be disseminated, it would undoubtedly tarnish the reputation of the Lin Group significantly." Gu Li also interjected, "General Lin, Director Lu is sincerely committed to this transaction with you. It seems rather inappropriate for you to withdraw so abruptly. I hope you will reconsider your decision."